Chapter 820. Alright, Crown Prince Great Dream. Juan Ciencio said, we, the immortal lamp Starfield, have decided to cooperate with you. The son of the immortal world joined hands with Jiangli to ambush us and even stole our bloodlines. If you don't cooperate with us, I don't think you'll be able to sit on the throne of the immortal world. Humph. I don't believe that he and the son of the immortal world would dare to come to the immortal world. Great Dream Crown Prince was filled with killing intent. If he comes, I'll kill him first, refine him, and sacrifice him. The entire human world will be destroyed because of that. Crown Prince Great Dream, don't let your guard down. You're definitely not Jiang Li's match right now. Rest Knight Ancestral Dragon said. He has refined the broken ancient well. His cultivation is one of the strongest among the great emperors. I'm afraid only the Empress who has broken through to the great Emperor realm can suppress him. Yes, the Lord of the human world's realm is very high, especially the infinite great Tao he comprehended. It's like he's gathered the fortune of heaven and earth, pushing the fate of all living beings to the point of infinite change. Even I can't see through his past and present life. Apart from that, if he can break through fate and drag the great Tao of fate down from the throne, even I won't be his match. The Empress said, however, it's precisely because he has such great fortune that he's the target of our alliance. In the future, he'll be very useful against the Son of Chaos. I feel like something's wrong. Since ancient times, no one has been able to break through fate. Not even Yuanshi. Son of Destiny Juan Ciencio suddenly said, and Jiang Li actually did something that surpassed Yuanshi. Does that mean he represents a mysterious power? Or is he the legendary Son of Chaos? As soon as he said that, everyone was silent. That's possible. Great Dream Crown Prince suddenly became alert. This person's cultivation is not normal. He's even subverted the pattern of cultivation. The infinite great Tao gives up godhood and directly cultivates the great Tao to reach the highest realm. This is what it means when the world is about to die, a monster will appear. I don't think so either. Juan Ciencio, considering our destiny, if we join forces, we would be invincible. Even the reincarnation of Heavenly King Primordial Beginning would only be equal to one of us. If we join forces, he definitely wouldn't be a match for us. But now, he has the upper hand, and is even stealing our bloodlines. That means he has even stronger destiny than us. That means he's the child of primordial chaos. That's right. That's not necessarily true. There's a reincarnation that's even luckier than Yuanshi. That's the reincarnation of a three-dimensional universe. That reincarnation of heaven's will has extremely strong providence. The old woman said, I've observed this person's behavior. He probably isn't the reincarnation of the Son of Chaos. Legend has it that when the Son of Chaos reincarnated, the heavens and the earth would shatter and all living things would die. He would crush everything into chaos and absorb everything in the world. He definitely isn't like this. Besides, if he really is the Son of Chaos, I can sense a trace of danger. I have the strongest divine sense passed down by the primordial Heavenly King to sense the existence of the Son of Chaos. On the contrary, this person is definitely dangerous. A cruel light flashed in Great Dream Crown Prince's eyes. The human world is also a tumor. It survives by absorbing the energy of the world, and in the end, it will steal all the vitality of the world, especially those who have the soul of the celestial sphere of myriad worlds. As long as they remove the curse in their bloodlines, they can endlessly absorb energy from the world, causing it to collapse. Next, I'm going to unite the world and attack the human world. Let's stop fighting first and deal with the Son of Chaos together, the woman said. What if that Jiang Li is really the Son of Chaos? Great Dream Crown Prince asked. Then we'll kill him without mercy, the woman said. I don't want to kill anyone, but I have to kill the Son of Chaos. But, according to my calculations, I don't think he's the Son of Chaos. Once the Son of Chaos appears, he's already so powerful. How could he possibly be weak? I heard that he's a native of the celestial sphere of myriad worlds, a tiny existence. If he's really the son of chaos, he won't be like this. He's born from the primordial chaos, invincible. That might not be the case. The son of chaos was like this in the past, but maybe he's changed now. Wan Qianxiu pondered. Anyway, we have to observe Zhongli. But I don't have time to deal with him right now. I have 1/3 of the immortal magic lamp, and I'm going to refine it and become a great emperor. Once I become a great emperor, things won't be so simple. I'll be the strongest great emperor. Humph. Wan Qianxiu, I'm the strongest great emperor. Xianyuanbian shouted. Well, let's wait and see. Even as the words left their mouths, the primordial flame seeds merged into their bodies. In this place, the medicinal pills in the pill wells transformed into rainbows. Shockingly, it was a long river of medicinal pills that flowed into their bodies. Each pill required the blood and sweat of the legion of gods to concoct, and it was impossible to say how much blood and sweat of great emperors it would take to concoct such a river of pills. Now, it was Wan Qianxiu and Xianyuanbian's turn. What a pity, Yang Qi said. The most important Deathless Sutra was taken away. If the 108 scriptures were still here, your cultivation bases would be even stronger. Once the son of primordial chaos was born, you too would be the main force. Especially you, Wan Qianxiu. You're the child of destiny, the archenemy of primordial chaos. What is destiny? It's the fate of all living beings in the world. This river concerns you, me, and heaven and earth. As long as heaven and earth don't perish, destiny won't perish. The primordial chaos destroyed heaven and earth to destroy destiny. All living beings have their own destinies. As long as destiny exists, they won't go extinct. Therefore, when the son of primordial chaos appeared, his first target was you, the child of destiny. As for Xianyuanbian, your very existence has escaped the control of the primordial chaos. Under the judgment of the primordial chaos, you're a sinner. Is that why the son of primordial chaos won't let you go? Come on, come on. Since the son of primordial chaos is here, we'll kill him. Xianyuanbian cackled. The two of them hid and disappeared. This time, they finally had enough resources to begin their ascension. Even Great Dream Crown Prince was shocked. Their potential was higher than his, so it was difficult for them to ascend. But once they became great emperors, they could truly dominate the world, and no one would be able to stop them. The weaker the child of destiny, the faster they would ascend. The stronger the child of destiny, the slower they would ascend. For example, a pond would be full when it rained, but an ocean wouldn't rise no matter how much it rained. At this moment, Sleeping God, Desolation God, Jiangli, Luo Feng, and Hua Zhuxian returned to the Immortal Tower's starfield. As soon as they entered, they felt that the system's power had increased. The system's power is so strong. Desolation God pointed at the many worlds in the starfield, and there was a mysterious power that could seal ghosts and deities. It was rippling everywhere, and once it encountered a strange creature, it would immediately kill it. Let me connect to the system. Desolation God connected to his system and immediately entered the vast virtual world. He discovered that he was still the master of the Chaos Prison and had great power. The power structure hadn't changed much. It was understandable. He had a high status in the Immortal Tower's starfield, and his words carried enormous weight. These big shots often cultivated in seclusion for thousands, tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of years. How long had he been missing? Actually, he couldn't be considered missing. However, he was still in big trouble. Looking at the information in the system chip, Desolation God's face turned pale. Oh no, I went out with Heavenly God to chase after Sleeping God, but now that Heavenly God is dead and I haven't returned, the higher-ups are suspicious. Now that I'm back, I received news from the higher-ups that they want me to ask about Heavenly God's death. What should I do now? If my answer isn't correct, I'm afraid they'll dismiss me on the spot and send me to the Chaos Prison. They might even kill me on the spot. It's fine. Just say that you were chasing after Sleeping God, and Great Dream Crown Prince suddenly attacked and killed Heavenly God. Then, you were lucky enough to escape. Anyway, everyone knows about the relationship between Sleeping God and Great Dream Crown Prince. Jiangli also checked his chip and discovered that the identity Yi Jin on it was still there. Of course, this was also because his clone was still in the human world colluding with Wood God. Hua Zhuxian's identity was still there, and Luo Feng was even the king of geniuses. However, Jiangli knew that all of this might be a trap, and he had to be careful at every step. Therefore, they wouldn't appear, and he would use the body of Desolation God to do things. Desolation God, we'll turn into infinite lights and enter your godhead. We'll forcefully raise your godhead to the realm of a great emperor. This way, no one will be able to tell. Jiangli said, you can use your identity as a great emperor to obtain a higher status in the Immortal Tower's starfield, and it'll be convenient for us to enter the Chaos Prison. Jiangli was very calculative. Naturally, he wouldn't give up on the identity of Desolation God. His current strength was much stronger than before, and he had the chance to kill his way into the prison and forcefully break the restrictive spell. Of course, now it seemed that the Immortal Tower starfield system was strengthened again, and it was the result of the two good fortune jade plates slowly fusing. Under such circumstances, he still had to be careful. Immediately, he, Luo Feng, and the other three turned into infinite lights and entered the godhead of Desolation God. Immediately, Desolation God's body was filled with dense Great Emperor's aura. She was undoubtedly a great emperor, and she wasn't a weakling among the great emperors, but the strongest among the great emperors. This identity was enough to gain the attention of the Immortal Tower's starfield. Sizzle, 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 just when everything was ready, the void suddenly split open, and a huge hand appeared, grabbing Desolation God. Desolation God, you've returned to the Immortal Tower's starfield. Very good, very good. You and the heavenly deity chased after the Sleeping God, but the heavenly deity died, and now you've returned. What exactly happened? The Judgment Court wants to ask you for an explanation. Chapter 821. The hand was the power of the system. The desolate god would definitely be investigated when he returned. The Immortal Tower's tribunal is the most terrifying existence. Normally, those who enter won't be able to come out. It's just like the tribunal of some religions. Luo Feng was communicating with Jiang Li through divine will. At this moment, the four of them had become knowledge. They had no physical bodies, vital qi, energy, or even psyche. That was the wonder of Jiang Li's infinite Tao. Residing in the godhood of the desolate god, no one could discover him. Of course, if he encountered someone who surpassed the great emperor level, he wouldn't be able to hide. However, the owner of the Immortal Tower was using all his power to suppress Baliming, so he didn't have the time to care about other people's business. Moreover, who was Jiangli now? He was comparable to Great Emperor Immortal Slayer. If Immortal Slayer had invaded the Immortal Tower's starfield, it would have caused a huge uproar. Even if something went wrong, Jiangli could still escape, because he wasn't afraid of being surrounded by the great emperors. As long as the great emperors attacked, no matter how many of them there were, they could absorb their power and turn it into primal chaos palea energy. He didn't panic at all when the hand took the desolate god away. Let's wait and see how terrifying the tribunal of the Immortal Tower is. There must be a great emperor inside. Jiang Li also started communicating telepathically. Celestial sovereigns like the desolate god are like feudal officials, while the great emperors are like princes, dukes, and kings. However, with our help, the desolate god will also become a king, which will make it easier for us to act. Desolate God, when you enter the tribunal of the Immortal Tower, don't panic. You should know that you're currently as strong as Great Emperor Immortal Slayer. I think you're definitely the most powerful person under the Immortal Tower's command. Even his son, Shu, isn't a match for you. So, you have to deal with them as if you're invincible. Alright. Desolate God was filled with power at this moment. He could feel the realm of a great emperor. Moreover, his own power was already very strong. After experiencing the battle with the inextinguishable magic lamp with Jiangli, his cultivation base had increased by at least 10 times. In fact, he was only one step away from the real Great Emperor realm. However, because his potential was not as good as Luo Feng and Hua Zhuxian, he could not advance yet. He still needed opportunities and enlightenment. Fortunately, he followed Jiangli and had many opportunities. Sooner or later, he would be enlightened to the Great Emperor realm. It was the same for the sleeping god. Now, the god of sleep had completely followed Jiangli and abandoned Crown Prince Damrong. Now that he was following Jiangli to rescue his wife and daughter, he would naturally risk his life. Moreover, he now knew that the great Dream Crown Prince had formed an alliance with the Immortal Tower. Hence, he was even more determined to abandon the great Dream Crown Prince. Moreover, he now knew that Jiangli's strength had surpassed that of Crown Prince Damrong. The sky and earth were spinning. The giant hand grabbed the desolate god, and it did not take long for it to be brought to a place. This place was a lookout, and the lookout was filled with an austere aura, especially in the square of the lookout. There were thousands of fire punishment pillars, and on top of the fire punishment pillars, there were people who had violated the rules. They were howling in pain within the flames, but they were not allowed to die. They had to endure eternal torture and pain within the flames. The characteristic of this place was the continuous wailing, which made people's hair stand on end. Desolate God, tell me, did you kill the divine sky god? Rumble. A vast power pressed down, forcing Desolate God to kneel. This was the power of a great emperor. It had to make Desolate God surrender. However, how could Desolate God surrender? He waved his hand, and an even stronger power of a great emperor appeared, shattering the power that was pressing down on him. I chased after the sleeping god with the divine sky god. But in the immortal lamp Starfield, that great dream crown prince suddenly attacked and killed the divine sky god. Seeing that the situation was not good, I ran away. Originally, I could not escape, but coincidentally, the chaotic ancient beasts of the immortal execution great emperor and the vengeful spirit of the immortal execution great emperor were fighting in the immortal lamp Starfield. I rode the storm and fell into a mysterious place. I obtained many medicinal pellets and the power left by the ancient great emperors, and became a great emperor. Everyone from the Inquisition, if I was the original Aragami, I would have been suppressed by you guys. But now, I'm also an emperor. I'm afraid that it won't be that easy for you guys to suppress me. I know that you guys hold the highest authority in the Inquisition. There are always some people that you guys have accused of being traitors and trying to rob their properties. However, I don't rob like that. Everyone is working for the Immortal Tower. What? You became a great emperor? As expected, the power he used to defeat us was the power of a great emperor. The desolate god actually became a great emperor. This is not an ordinary opportunity. Great Dream Crown Prince, I knew it was the Great Dream Crown Prince that killed the heavenly god so easily. A few surprised voices were heard. Yin Yang Great Emperor, please come and judge. Yin Yang Great Emperor respectfully come and judge. Another voice was heard. Obviously, the mysterious Yin Yang Great Emperor was the real owner of the judicatory. Yin Yang Great Emperor, it is him? He also submitted to the Immortal Tower Starfield? This person is an ancient great emperor who does not belong to the myriad of worlds. He is a wanderer of the universe. He obtained an opportunity and became a great emperor. He was once one of the top great emperors. He broke into the immortal world and fought with the Soul Emperor. Although he was defeated, he was able to escape unscathed. It seems like he was injured at that time. Therefore, he submitted to the Immortal Tower's star field. After hundreds of millions of years, this person's cultivation base is probably unfathomable. Luo Feng said to Jiangli, "Don't worry. This is a chance to see the true face of Yin Yang Great Emperor." Jiangli did not care. Zzz. Suddenly, two rainbows, one black and one white, appeared from the void. Each of them pierced through the distant galaxy and came to the judicatory, forming a middle-aged man. This middle-aged man's face and skin were black and white. He was a hermaphrodite. He was a man of yin and yang. It was Yin Yang Great Emperor. He was no longer made of flesh and blood. He had a body of yin and yang. Desolate God, you actually became an immortal emperor? Let me see how strong you are. I will investigate what you said. Since Great Dream Crown Prince dared to kill a heavenly deity, only death awaits him. The Yin Yang Immortal Emperor's tone was gentle yet tyrannical at the same time. Roar. The sky changed color. He launched an attack. This famous great sovereign of the ancient immemorial era struck out with his palm. Palm energy flew out and spread out, forming an ancient yin-yang universe. It was actually somewhat similar to the Great Dream Crown Prince's celestial great overarching world. However, Jiang Li could immediately see that this ancient yin-yang universe was far inferior to the Great Dream Crown Prince's celestial great overarching world. At this moment, he completely controlled Desolate God's body. Desolate God seemed to have become another person. He opened his palm and each of his fingers was like a sword. Sword chi flew, slicing yin and yang. The yin and yang were sliced in the middle. He waved his sleeves and all the yin and yang were sucked into his sleeves, disappearing endlessly. This caused Yin Yang Great Emperor to be extremely shocked. As the saying goes, when an expert makes a move, one would know whether or not he was an expert. Desolate God's transformation was like yin and yang were under his control. Yin Yang Great Emperor felt that he was impenetrable. Desolate God, what miraculous encounter did you have? Even great emperors are divided into different levels. Even if you broke through, you were just the lowest level great emperor. How did you suddenly reach such a realm? Yin and Yang revolved in Yin Yang Great Emperor's eyes. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. I just obtained my own power. I am the reincarnation of the Desolate Era. Desolate God, under Jiang Li's guidance, started to talk nonsense. When the world was first created, the myriad worlds hadn't formed yet. Only the embryonic form of the universe was left. That time was called the Desolate Era or the Desolate Era or the Absolute Beginning. At that time, there were many powerful yet unknown existences called the Desolate Era. That was because people didn't have the habit of giving themselves names. They didn't know what a name was. With a name, they would have their own destiny. Without a name, in this real world, they wouldn't have an accurate codename. At that time, the powerful existences had already disappeared in the ancient times. You are actually the reincarnation of the Desolate Era? Yin Yang Great Emperor didn't really believe it. Then what are you going to do now? Why did you come to the Immortal Tower? I am the Desolate God. I obtained great power. Naturally, I have to fulfill my duty. Desolate God continued, although I am the reincarnation of the Desolate Era, I am still Master's subordinate. Now that I have returned, of course, I have to work for Master again. Why? Are you going to betray Master after obtaining great power? You can eat whatever you want, but you can't speak whatever you want. Yin Yang Great Emperor hurriedly said, Since you have already become a great emperor, I can't judge you. I need Master's son to judge you. As you wish. I will judge you. A person appeared here. It was actually Technique, the son of the Immortal Tower's master. At this time, it was one of his incarnations. He observed the Desolate God and said, Good, very good. Desolate God, I didn't expect you to have such a fortuitous encounter. You are actually the reincarnation of the desolate era. You even obtained your former power. In this way, I have another capable assistant. Young master above. The desolate god actually knelt down. Ha 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 ha. Seeing the desolate god kneeling down, Technique instantly laughed out loud. He was very satisfied. Seems like you still haven't forgotten your roots. I am very gratified, very gratified. Like this, you actually have such godly might. You should go and look after the chaos prison. This time, I want you to subdue the many demonic gods in the chaos prison. Capture them and then sacrifice them. Do you understand? Yes, young master, I will do whatever you want me to do. However, if I sacrifice those demonic gods, I will be possessed by resentment. This is a little troublesome. Do you have any plans, young master? I will carry them out. The desolate god knelt down to show her loyalty. The Chaos Prison is the most important part of the Immortal Tower's starfield. We've captured so many demonic gods and kept them there, waiting for this day to come. Some of them are great emperors, as well as the vicious patriarch Demonheart. You have to subdue them. Do you understand? Technique said. Right now, I'm going to hand over all the power of the Chaos Prison to you, as well as some of the power of punishment in the system. You have to do this for me. Yes, sir. The desolate god knew that she was now in a very important position. Chapter 8:22. In the past, although the Wilds god was also in charge of the prison, he didn't have much power. He had to report some things to his superiors, and the superiors would assign him authority. After all, he was only a celestial sovereign back then. Although he was strong, he couldn't survive in a place like the Chaos Prison. In the depths of the Chaos Prison, celestial sovereigns were a dime a dozen. For example, Celestial Sovereign Mashiong, who had plotted against Luo Feng. And that wasn't all. There were also great emperors. Those were truly terrifying existences. However, with desolate god Jiang Li's support, he claimed to have obtained the power of the primordial oddity and was the reincarnation of the primordial oddity. Moreover, he had been personally verified by the Yin-Yang Emperor. When the two of them fought, even the famous Yin-Yang Emperor could not do anything to him. Moreover, when Shu appointed the Aragami, he had also infused a surge of power into the body of the Aragami. Through the system, he had also begun to calculate the Aragami's strength and found out that the Aragami was indeed very powerful. More importantly, the seal that was placed on the Aragami was still there and had not been removed. In other words, the little tower in the Wilds god's body didn't break. Instead, it was getting stronger and stronger, constantly sending power to the system. This proved that the Wilds god was absolutely loyal. All the higher-ups of the Immortal Tower would make an oath. After making the oath, a little tower would form in their body. This tower was the person's contract. If they betrayed him, the contract would be broken and the person would die. However, Technique didn't know that the contract with the little tower was created by Jiang Li using the infinite Great Tao. Before he was a great emperor, he could already use the infinite Great Tao to deceive great emperors, let alone now. If it wasn't for the fact that he had to suppress Ba Liming, the system might have been able to see through him. But now it couldn't. This led to Technique's trust in the Wilds god. After the appointment, the Wilds god looked at his microchip and found that there was a world-shaking change. All the powers that he couldn't use before were now unimpeded. For example, before, he couldn't use the Chaos Prison's origin power. But now, he could use the burial divine ability of the Great Tomb. This way, even Patriarch Demonheart would have to be wary of him. One had to understand that the Chaos Prison was originally a great pre-celestial tomb that could bury demonic gods. It was unknown how the master of the Immortal Tower obtained it and modified it into a prison, stuffing powerful existences within. The power of the great necropolis was unfathomable, to the point where not even the owner of the Deathless Tower could fully comprehend it. That was why he had put all of the devil gods inside the necropolis, hoping to see if they could unlock the secrets of the pre-heaven great necropolis. Of course, it was also part of the great necropolis plan to bury the devil gods and kill each other. There were some things that even existences surpassing the martial monarch realm were unable to refine. They could only be refined with time. Now, there was probably another reason why the Aragami were able to gain control of the great necropolis prison. Of course, all of this was within Jiang Li's calculations. Jiang Li definitely wasn't just hiding. He had already seen through many of the secrets of the Immortal Tower's planetary system. Previously, this planetary system was extremely mysterious to him, and he couldn't see through it at all. But now, everything was clear to him. Not to mention that his horizons had been broadened, ever since he had refined the ancient well and shattered the martial monarch ancient primordial chaos. He could see that all sorts of substances were formed from the fusion of primordial chaos paleoenergy. As long as he had the right method and enough primordial chaos paleoenergy, he could even create an identical planetary system of the Immortal Tower, or even thousands of planetary systems of the Immortal Tower. Of course, this was just a metaphor. It was similar to the scientist on Earth, who said that he needed a fulcrum to move the Earth. Although he couldn't do it, it seemed like Jiang Li was starting to grasp some truth. The structure of the world, the combination of matter, and the operation of formation, all of these were deeply understood in his eyes. The Aragami returned to his own world. His current status was very high. However, he didn't summon the gods for a banquet. Instead, he went into seclusion. He knew that he would be observed for a while. As expected, after a few months, he didn't move at all and focused on his cultivation. Finally, the surveillance disappeared. Over the past few months, Jiang Li had studied the great necropolis and analyzed it with the help of the Well of Living Beings. He had come to the conclusion that the structure of the necropolis was made up of some sort of indescribable substance. Furthermore, it was constantly changing and wriggling, almost as if it were a stomach wriggling and digesting its content. This situation overturned his previous understanding of the great necropolis. In fact, through the great necropolis, he began to observe the situation inside. The great necropolis was a universe, but it also had boundaries. It was about the size of the radiant world, and there were many powerful beings imprisoned inside, about to be dissolved. Jiang Li once again sensed the ancestor of martial arts, Ba Liming. Unfortunately, Ba Liming couldn't sense him. Jiang Li could sense that the ancestor of martial arts, Ba Liming, was completely suppressed. The power of the good fortune jade disc was bolstered by the deathless steel, making it impossible for him to breathe. Of course, Jiang Li knew that Ba Liming wouldn't be suppressed so easily. He was definitely hiding somewhere, waiting for the right time to strike back. Last time, he had taken the knowledge of the eternal ancient well from Grand Emperor Yu's mind, and nearly exploded. Wang Chao and Ba Liming had been able to use it as a catharsis, so he had released some of the knowledge, which would definitely be of great help to his own cultivation. Jiang Li, Luo Feng said, "Do you see anything? What other powerful entities are in the depths of the prison of chaos?" Luo Feng asked. "Incredible! Incredible!" Jiang Li sighed. "If I hadn't cultivated to my current level, I wouldn't have been able to tell that there are such powerful entities in the depths of the prison of chaos." "Is it August Patriarch Demonheart?" Luo Feng said, shocked. "No, he's even stronger than August Patriarch Demonheart." Jiang Li's face was solemn. "I sensed the aura of the Central Emperor. Although it was just a flash, I still sensed it." "You must have sensed the Central Emperor brush." There was indeed a descendant of the Central Emperor who was captured and brought the Central Emperor brush into the depths of the prison of chaos. However, the Central Emperor died a long time ago. The Desolation God didn't even know. No, you've all been deceived. The Central Emperor brush is just a cover. Jiangli said, I feel that it's not as simple as the Central Emperor. Then what is it? Luo Feng couldn't understand Jiangli's words. I feel that the aura of the East, West, South, North, and Central Emperors are all concentrated on one person? Jiangli tried to sense the depths of the prison of chaos again. How is that possible? Is that person the same as you? Luo Feng said, he obtained the memories of the 5 emperors? He also obtained the memories of the 5 emperors, so he has the aura of the 5 emperors? No, I only obtained the memories of the 5 emperors to enrich myself. There's no way I can have the aura of the 5 emperors. There's only one way to have the aura of the 5 emperors. Jiang Li's voice suddenly turned sinister. That person devoured the reincarnations of the 5 emperors. What? That's impossible. That's impossible. Luo Feng trembled and felt her hair stand on end. How could something like this happen? Who would have such power? That's right, the 5 emperors and 5 emperors are all beings with great luck. If Great Emperor Immortal Slayer could reincarnate successfully, so could they. How could there be no movement? Up until now, I haven't seen anyone who is the reincarnation of the 5 emperors or the 5 emperors. Could it be that they were all devoured? Hua Zhuxian's voice trembled. That's possible. Jiang Li's voice was incomparably gloomy. Something big has happened. This time, it's really something big. Even I feel my hair standing on end. In the depths of the chaos prison, I feel that there's a peerless, ferocious fetus hiding. Even the master of your immortal tower doesn't know about it. This peerless, ferocious fetus might have devoured the reincarnations of the 5 emperors. Isn't the Eastern Emperor's treasure, the Eastern Emperor Bell, in your hands? Luo Feng asked. What should we do? The Eastern Emperor Bell is just a shell. It's also the body of the Eastern Emperor. But reincarnation is just reincarnation. For example, Hua Zhuxian's reincarnation is still Hua Zhuxian. The shell and power of Great Emperor Immortal Slayer have fused with the wish pill. However, all of Great Emperor Immortal Slayer's luck is concentrated in Hua Zhuxian. Otherwise, he wouldn't have become a great emperor. It's all luck and foundation. Jiang Li's hair stood on end. If someone devoured Hua Zhuxian, his luck would rise to a terrifying level. That's why everyone wants to devour Wan Qianxiu and Xian Yuan Bian. But they also have the ability to seek fortune and avoid calamity. Even the strongest beings can't devour them. I still can't believe something like this happened. Luo Feng shook her head repeatedly. The reincarnation of the 5 emperors is a kind of boundless destiny. After all, they are capable subordinates of the primordial heavenly king. How could anyone possibly devour them? It's hard to predict. When a country is about to fall, a monster will appear. Jiang Li said. The myriad world's calamity is coming. Something unimaginable will happen. In the depths of the ancient chaos, terrifying beings will be born. Darkness and destruction will envelop the myriad worlds. We must enter the prison now and see if your guess is correct. Perhaps it is. Luo Feng couldn't believe it. If Jiang Li's guess was correct, how terrifying would it be? I also want to believe that my guess is wrong. Jiang Li said. I feel that the Devil's Hand is the ancestor of martial arts, Ba Liming. I need to stop it and kill it. It can devour the reincarnation of the 5 emperors. It's too terrifying. Come, let's enter together. Hua Zhuxian added. Jiang Li, your cultivation has reached the pinnacle. You're only one step away from surpassing the great sovereigns and surpassing destiny. I believe your intuition isn't wrong. The world is about to perish, and the most terrifying thing in the world will be born. You have the Eastern Emperor Bell, and that thing must be yours. Chapter 8:23. That's right, I have obtained the Eastern Emperor Bell. This bell itself is the body of the Eastern Emperor, and it also contains his memories. Even if the Eastern Emperor himself reincarnated, he would still need to find his own body to recover his strength and memories. Therefore, if that terrifying thing swallowed the reincarnated bodies of the 5 emperors, it would definitely come looking for me. It hasn't appeared yet, which proves that it's still in the incubation stage. We have to go in and destroy it before it matures. Otherwise, it'll be too late. Jiang Li's heart also palpitated at his own divination. He couldn't imagine what kind of terrifying thing it was that made him feel this way. It was best if he was wrong. If he was right, then he would be in big trouble. However, he had never been afraid of anything. On the contrary, he was looking forward to it. If he could sneak into the chaos prison and capture that terrifying thing, then use the well of life to refine it, he would be able to obtain all of the 5 emperors' karmic luck. He would also be able to obtain some sort of fate from the unseen world. With all of these fates gathered together, he would be able to reach a higher level of enlightenment. But this terrifying thing had swallowed the reincarnated bodies of the 5 emperors, so it definitely wasn't simple. Even with his current cultivation base, Jiang Li wasn't confident in taming it. Furthermore, he knew that the reincarnated bodies of the 5 emperors hadn't appeared yet. 5 emperors against 5 emperors. It was a clash of destinies. If the reincarnated bodies of the 5 emperors had been swallowed by something terrifying, then the reincarnated bodies of the 5 emperors wouldn't be able to escape either. They would definitely be swallowed by something even more terrifying. These two things were very likely to be demon-like beings born directly from primal chaos. When worlds were about to perish, demons were bound to appear. These demons would pave the way for the children of primal chaos. The power of primal chaos was limitless, and could give birth to the strongest experts. It wasn't strange for terrifying things to appear in order to prevent calamity from befalling. Jiang Li was very familiar with the power of primal chaos, and knew that primal chaos paleo energy was ever-changing. It could turn into righteous beings, or it could turn into destructive beings. It could turn into intelligent beings, or it could even give birth to incomparably crafty villains. Primal chaos encompassed everything, and could evolve everything. Then should we enter the prison now? The god of sleep didn't care about this. He wanted to see the flower god and his daughter immediately. But how do I save them? That's easy. I now have great power, so I'll arrange a trap for them. I'll say that they were killed and devoured by the demonic god, leaving not even a trace of their souls. This way, their accounts can be closed and they can walk out of it safely. In the past, the desolate god would not have been able to do this. But now, he did not care at all. So what if a puny Empyrean died? He was already a great emperor. Let's do it that way. Jiang Li agreed. However, Aragami, we still can't reveal our physical forms. We'll be residing in your divine spark. You'll have to personally enter the chaos prison. The depths of the prison are being monitored very closely. Our appearance will definitely attract the attention of the higher-up. I'll take care of that. These days, the desolate god had been cultivating. Her comprehension of the heavenly emperor's Tao had deepened. Although it was still impossible for her to become a heavenly emperor, entering the depths of the chaos prison might be an opportunity for her. Her great world was right around the chaos prison. She had control over thousands of great worlds, and all of them had absolute power. They could monitor, suppress, and refine the chaos prison. Now, with just a slight movement, she could enter the prison soundlessly. She had absolute power. In the past, if she wanted to enter, she would have to apply for a talisman from the higher-up. But now, she was in control of the talisman. Through the desolate god's perspective, Jiang Li could see everything. Right now, he could control the desolate god's body and soul. He let the desolate god rest while he controlled the place and began to search secretly. He retracted all of his aura and unleashed his boundless mystic abilities. He also became a faintly discernible existence, like a bystander observing everything. In the past, when he entered this place, he had to be extremely careful. Any god could destroy him. In fact, in a battle between gods, even small soldiers could pose a threat to him. But now, in his eyes, those gods were no different from ants. There was nothing new in the chaos prison. Killings, plots were everywhere. Gods fought and killed each other. All sorts of resentment energy filled the place, and it was even denser than before. Moreover, Jiangli discovered that the resentment energy and prisoners here were much more numerous than when he first entered. It seemed like the Immortal Tower's starfield was constantly waging war, preparing for an even more tragic sacrificial ceremony. Jiangli swept around and discovered Heavenly Paragon Maxiong's palace and cave dwelling. Heavenly Paragon Maxiong was cultivating there, and it seemed like he was trying to break through to a higher realm. But this realm was nothing. Right now, a single breath from Jiangli could destroy him. Heavenly Paragon Maxiong also hadn't become a heavenly emperor. With his talent, it was impossible for him to advance. He didn't have enough potential. Jiangli didn't care about him. The grudges from back then were nothing to him now. He was sensing the location of Hua Zhuyan and the flower god. He spread his divine will out, and with the help of the Immortal Tower's starfield system, he began to calculate. Instantly, he discovered that the two of them were in a secret corner of the prison, and they had opened up a small god nation. Jiang Li's body moved, turning into a speck of dust, and descended. This was an ancient black mountain. Gloomy winds howled, and dark clouds covered the sky. The resentment energy turned into a fog that shrouded the place all year round. It was sticky like blood, and it was incomparably fishy. But in the depths of a small canyon, there was life overflowing. In that small canyon, flowers were blooming, and the flower god nation was opened up by god power. The gloomy winds and filth outside couldn't blow in. Jiangli fell into it. Of course, on the surface, they were desolate gods. Two women were cultivating in the depths of a sea of flowers, gathering the energy of tens of thousands of flowers. At the center, there was actually a peerless divine flower. This divine flower was pure white, so white that one couldn't bear to look at it directly. There was no filth at all, and the roots of this flower passed through the god nation, deeply rooted in the filthy soil. It actually absorbed the resentment energy, gloomy winds, and filth as nourishment, turning it into a pure and holy divine flower. But this was nature. The pure white and fragrant lotus also grew in the mud. Only stinky feces could give birth to something pure and holy. Filth and purity were opposites. This is the flower of nature. They actually used the resentment energy here to secretly cultivate this flower. This is a seed that we obtained when we traveled the world together. It came from the depths of the primordial chaos. Rumor has it that this seed is called the seed of nature, and it represents the wonders of the primordial nature, the god of sleep said. We tried everything, but we couldn't hatch this seed. It's indeed magical. Jiangli suddenly released a dark cloud that shrouded the god nation, causing the depths of the god nation to turn pitch black. Immediately, the flower god and Hua Zhuyan opened their eyes, and fear appeared in their eyes. But then, they became clear again, and the god of sleep appeared. Father! Hua Zhuyan didn't dare to believe her eyes, but the god of sleep's aura had already shrouded the area. It was very familiar, and it was the scent of her bloodline. Don't be agitated, the master of the world is using the limitless Tao to cover time and space, creating an illusion. I am now completely following the master of the world and the limitless great emperor. In the near future, I will become an existence that surpasses the great emperor. The god of sleep sent out a thought, and immediately, the flower god knew what had happened. Hua Zhuyan also understood. She didn't expect that the young man back then would actually become the limitless great emperor. There's no time to lose. I created an illusion to deceive the system, causing you to be killed by the demons. But as time passes, the system will analyze the data and become suspicious. Jiangli opened his mouth, and a light appeared, wrapping the god nation within it. Then, he flew up and instantly left. Thank you for reuniting us. From now on, the two of us will serve the human world. The flower god was really beautiful, and she bowed towards Jiangli. Now, I will give you the nature flower that we painstakingly cultivated to the human world. Legends say that this flower has unbelievable power. If it is planted in the world, it will eat turbid energy as food, use hatred as nutrients, and use all sorts of negative emotions as its foundation. It will release beauty, purity, holiness, and even perfection. Legends say that this flower is one of the chaos sciention flowers. It's so magical? Jiang Li observed carefully. Madam, when you obtained this seed, my master, the Heart Emperor, came to find us. I asked him how he hatched it, and he said that it is a sciention flower, and there is no way to hatch it. Even when he controlled the celestial world, he couldn't do it. How did you hatch it? The god of sleep was a little confused. I couldn't hatch it either. But one day, in the depths of the chaos prison, a strange person appeared and guided me. Flower God said. He injected power into the seed, and then I set up a formation to let the seed absorb the hatred and filth here. Finally, the flower bloomed. Strange person? A seed that even the Heart Emperor couldn't incubate was actually incubated with the guidance of an amazing person? Jiangli looked at the flower of nature in the divine kingdom and suddenly felt puzzled. What kind of amazing person is it? Someone who surpassed the Heart Emperor? Back then, the Heart Emperor controlled the celestial world, the heavenly court, and the good fortune jade disk. His combined power was enough to fight against existences that surpassed emperors. Could it be the Heart Demon Ancestor? That shouldn't be the case. The Heart Demon Ancestor's power was similar to the Heart Emperor's, but why would he fight against the heavenly court and the good fortune jade disk? Something is fishy. Luo Feng said. Jiangli, can you revert to the origin and use this flower to deduce the identity of that eccentric? Let me try. Jiang Li's body moved, and a wave of power covered the flower. However, the moment his power enveloped the flower, a creepy laughter was born from it. Then, the flower rapidly expanded and suddenly enveloped everyone. Everyone was sucked into the flower. The flower's color changed. It was no longer pure, but rather demonic as it flickered with all sorts of luster. TSK, 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 TSK. Another batch of people with great luck has been devoured by me. A mysterious thought could be vaguely heard from the flower. Chapter 8:24. We've been tricked. That terrifying thing is plotting against us. Even the flower goddesses and Hua Zhuyan are in on it. It wants to devour us. It's a flower of evil. The pre-heaven nature flower has been transformed into a vile flower of devouring, one that contains pre-heaven primal chaos devouring power. The flower wrapped around Jiangli and everyone else. Boundless power flowed into their souls, transforming the flower into a grand devouring spell formation that was even more terrifying than the black hole that could devour grand emperors. Moreover, in the depths of Jiang Li's soul, he saw a person. This person's entire body was pitch black, but his eyes sparkled with lightning. He sat in the depths of the void, absorbing some inexplicable and extremely gloomy energy. That was the terrifying existence that had devoured the reincarnations of the 5 emperors. This person only had a pair of eyes. He did not have a nose, mouth, or ears. His head was completely bald, and his eyes seemed to be able to melt anything. He controlled the flower to cover everyone, and he could sense everyone's fate. Destiny. My fish has finally taken the bait. Excellent. 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 I can't believe there's a child of an immortal world among them. I've really struck it rich. Now that I devour the destiny of an immortal world child, I'll be able to advance even further. The voice of the terrifying entity with only one eye grew more and more mysterious. As the flower wrapped around everyone, barbs grew out of it, stabbing into their bodies and absorbing their nutrient. Then it spat out massive amounts of acid that melted them. It was almost like a man-eating flower. However, this was a pre-heaven flower of devouring. It had originally been a pre-heaven flower of nature, but this evil entity had turned it into a flower with devouring power. What an evil entity! Just what is it? Although Jiangli had been ambushed, he didn't panic. Drawing on his boundless great Tao, he used the Well of Living Beings. The Well of Living Beings could transform any Emperor-level attack into primal chaos palea energy. The flower's attacks stabbed into Yang Qi, but they were all absorbed by the Well of Living Beings. The Well of Living Beings was the source of all living beings. The fate of all living beings was contained within it. What is this? An entity that can reverse primal chaos? It's going against the will of primal chaos. The terrifying entity gasped in shock as the power of the flower was being absorbed by the Well of Living Beings. Break! Jiangli was no longer weak. He was comparable to the immortal Slayer Emperor, and his Well of Life was even more terrifying than the immortal Slayer Emperor's. You want to devour me? How could it be that easy? If I could be devoured so easily, I wouldn't have survived until now. You can devour the 5 emperors, but you can forget about devouring me. His infinite Tao actually evolved into an infinite universe. This infinite universe was the future of the human realm. Crown Prince Demeng is indeed a genius. He actually surpassed his master and cultivated the celestial realm of great overarching. Now, I will use his achievement to increase my cultivation by another level. That is the future of the human world. Jiangli stood up from the flowers. He punched out. This punch of his shook the void. Millions of lives faintly felt a connection with him. In fact, at this moment, he could even sense the undying heroic spirits of the 5 emperors. 5 emperors, I know that although your reincarnations have been devoured, you haven't been completely annihilated. Your heroic spirits still exist. You are still in the past, your illustrious fame still exists. Your names still remain in the hearts of the masses. The masses have yet to completely forget you. As long as the masses still exist, you will still exist. This fist of Jiang Li seemed to be a fist of salvation, a fist of salvation. The birth and death of all living beings are all illusions. You are all in a dream. The ultimate goal of the great dream is to turn dreams into reality, or to retain space-time forever. This is authority. I have now improved the Great Dream Heart Sutra into the Infinite Heart Sutra, reversing life and death, reversing yin and yang. As long as all living beings have your memories, you can appear again. This is fate. Come out. The 5 emperors who were devoured, I bear your fate in the name of Infinite. You can control your own life and death. Jiang Li's punch was slow. It was not used to attack, but to set up a trap. He used the memories of the 5 emperors to reverse space-time and summon the 5 emperors back. Bzzz. This punch was completely heaven-defying. As he punched out, heaven and earth trembled. The terrifying entity's bald head swayed back and forth, and then its eyes closed. Instantly, the person's facial features were gone. His body was pitch black, and his head was completely bald. After his eyes closed, the only thing that seemed to be alive was gone. Suddenly, 5 streams of vital energy appeared behind him, 1 black, 1 white, 1 red, 1 green, and 1 yellow. Within the 5-colored energy, 5 faces could be seen, all of which were the faces of the 5 emperors. East, west, north, south, and central. The 5 emperors who had followed Yuanshi had been devoured by this terrifying entity. Jiang Li's suspicions were confirmed. He punched out again, but this time, he wasn't aiming at a specific target. Instead, he was trying to summon the 5 streams of vital energy out of the body of this terrifying entity, so that the destiny of the 5 emperors would remain in the world of the living. If he didn't summon them in time, they would be refined by this person sooner or later, and then there would be no hope at all. I didn't expect you to be able to unleash such a heaven-defying punch. However, you can't do anything to me. I can't see through your destiny. Impressive, impressive. The bald, featureless entity suddenly had 5 huge mouths appear on its body. These 5 mouths grew out of its head, chest, back, and legs. It was as if organs could grow out of its body at any time. It was extremely bizarre and disgusting. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 5 wisps of vital energy were reabsorbed by him. Then, his body swayed a little and immediately disappeared. His thoughts were left behind. Oh, powerful existence, I can't see through your fate, but I know that it's definitely very strong. I've already found you, just wait for me to endlessly devour you in the future. Nature wonder flower, restore instincts. Jiangli made a grasping motion, causing everything around him to disappear. Then, a flower appeared in his hand. The flower had already returned to its pristine white color. It was still a nature wonder flower, and not the devouring flower. I've already fought with that terrifying entity, Jiangli murmured. He's not too bad. He hasn't achieved anything yet, but he's still in the Emperor realm. I can't do anything to him. However, once he devours the destiny of the 5 emperors, he might be able to open Yuanshi's magical treasure. When that happens, it'll be a real disaster. Did you see it clearly? What kind of terrifying entity is that? Luo Feng's heart was pounding with fear. I don't know, but I'm sure that he's an ancient creature born from the primordial chaos. He came to this chaos prison to carry out a series of plans. He's devouring all sorts of powerful existences with destiny. Jiang Li shook his head. The primordial chaos is unpredictable. I don't know what will be born from it. However, it's also an existence with destiny. If I can capture it and merge it with the well of living beings, my cultivation base will increase. Now, what I need to do is to accumulate more and more destiny. I'll strive to break through destiny and obtain a supreme cultivation base, surpassing the Emperor realm. At that time, the human world will be the true ruler of its own destiny. Now that we've saved your wife and daughter, we'll carry out our plan to save the martial ancestor Baliming. Hua Zhuyan said to the sleeping god, flower god and Hua Zhuyan. I'm sorry, we were tricked by that terrifying entity. The flower god was still in a state of shock. It doesn't matter. You're already lucky that you weren't devoured. Jiangli felt that as long as the 2 of them were safe, it wouldn't matter. The martial ancestor Baliming isn't that easy to save. Luo Feng thought for a moment. I think we should carry out a plan to contact the powerful existences here, especially the emperors. Of course, the most important one is the demon ancestor. Of course. I'll pay a visit to all the emperors in the chaos prison. Jiangli said, the demon ancestor is the first. I can even join forces with him to capture that terrifying existence. I'm sure he'll be interested in doing that. Where is the demon ancestor? Follow me. Jiangli once again used the body of the desolate god to walk through the chaos prison. Not long later, they arrived at a place. It was an ocean, a sea of despair formed by the condensation of baleful yin qi. The ocean seemed to be boundless, and in the middle of the ocean, a heart-shaped island appeared. The island looked like a heart, but it was pitch black and it was squirming non-stop. Boundless demonic qi, boundless demonic qi. This is the island where the demon ancestor lives. He's condensing a supreme demonic heart. Not bad, not bad. Jiangli controlled the desolate god to fly down and sent out a will. Demon ancestor, I am the desolate god. This time, I entered the chaos prison to have a chat with you. How about it? Desolate god? In the depths of his heart, a voice rang out, how can the desolate god be an emperor? No matter how many fortuitous encounters he has, he can't become an emperor. He's congenitally deficient. Who are you? You took over the body of the desolate god and hid it from the upper echelons of the immortal tower, but you can't hide it from me. Now, the system and master of the Immortal Tower are suppressing Ba-liming and dealing with various invasions. They even have to guard against the Immortal World's Crown Prince Demeng. How can I recognize you? But I, Demon Ancestor, am the most sensitive. You can't hide it from me. Ha ha ha. Jiang Li laughed. Demon Ancestor is indeed the Demon Ancestor. No wonder you're the king of heart demons. You can control heart demons and the hearts of people. But you guessed wrong. I am the desolate god. However, I'm the reincarnation of a desolate oddity. Believe it or not, it's up to you. Today, I'm here to let you know something big. Do you know about the treasures of the 5 sovereigns? Of course I do. Some of the treasures are here. If I wanted to take them, I would have taken them long ago. But I'm not in a hurry. I'm waiting for the right opportunity. The reincarnations of the 5 sovereigns will definitely come to this prison. When that time comes, it will be the best time for me to make my move. Of course, the people of the Immortal Tower haven't made their move yet. They're waiting for the reincarnations of the 5 sovereigns to come and take their treasures. Chapter 825. August Patriarch Heart Devil was a shrewd schemer. He knew not to take the treasures of the 5 emperors, but instead waited for the reincarnations of the 5 emperors to return, and then devour them. Unfortunately, he had no idea that the reincarnations of the 5 emperors had long since been devoured by a terrifying entity. Jiang Li's Wild's god form laughed heartily. August Patriarch Heart Devil, you've made countless calculations, but you've failed to account for one thing. Tribulation is coming. Countless terrifying entities will be born in primal chaos, and they'll devour anyone with destiny. The reincarnations of the 5 emperors have long since been devoured, and that entity has already entered the prison of primal chaos. I chased it all the way here, but it's already gone. It's very likely that it's here to deal with you. What? August Patriarch Heart Devil blurted. Impossible. Don't try to scare me with your alarmist talk. If something as terrifying as that really existed, everything would be in chaos. The 5 emperors were terrifying, and they followed Yuanshi for so long. Their cultivation bases are heaven-defying, and their destiny is as vast as the mountains and the seas. How could they have been devoured? Even back in the day, with the exception of the Middle Emperor, none of them could compare to you. If the Middle Emperor had lived all this time, he would be a bit stronger than you. But based on his cultivation base back then, he wouldn't be able to compare to you, August Patriarch Heart Devil. Jiang Li laughed heartily. He had long since realized that this August Patriarch's cultivation base surpassed that of the Heart Emperor. Of course, this was because the Heart Tharch had perished a long time ago. This ancestral master was compared to the Heart Tharch back then. After all, he and the Heart Tharch had many more years of bitter cultivation. The Heart Emperor had perished long ago. If he had lived to this day, he might have even surpassed the Grand Emperors. His cultivation base was constantly improving. You flatter me, you flatter me. All of a sudden, a huge wave of world energy surged within the island of the inner demons. It was as if it was trying to pull Jiang Li into the depths of its world. Ha ha! Jiang Li flicked his sleeves. In an instant, his sleeves fluttered as all the world energy was sucked into them. Even the entire Heart Devil Island was shaking. That was one of his divine abilities, the ability to turn illusory into corporeal. First, he absorbed the power of August Patriarch Heart Devil, then settled it in the depths of the well, transforming it into primal chaos Palea energy, which he then used to create his own world. This world was the future of the human world. He moved his future human realm here, covering the entire mental demon island. The surroundings of Devil Heart Island were filled with the aura of the mortal world. There were tall buildings everywhere, and people came and went. Surprisingly, these people were real and had living souls. They were scheming against each other, rubbing against each other, shaking each other, and fighting each other. This was the future of the human world. It was superior to the grand overarching heavenly Tao. Crown Prince Great Dream's Megaplexus Heavenly Tao, which eventually became the Megaplexus Celestial World, was illusory, and didn't have primal chaos palea energy. Primal chaos palea energy could be used to create all living things. Without it, nothing could exist. But Jiangli was different. The well of living beings could absorb the attacks of grand emperors and turn them into primal chaos, which he could use to create his own ideal world. That would be a true world, and would be superior to the Megaplexus world. It was like cursing and beating people up. Some people were thick-skinned, and didn't care about cursing them. They pretended they didn't hear it, so cursing didn't necessarily work on anyone. But beating people up was different. It was a physical pain, and anyone could be beaten to death. Crown Prince Great Dream's Megaplexus Celestial World was cursing people. And Jiang Li's current future of the human world was beating people up. In the future, the aura of the mortal world will be even more intense. Even if you're at the peak of the Great Tao, you'll have to fall into it and enjoy all sorts of riches and honor. Jiangli, I'll call it the Red Dust Celestial World. The red dust is the heaven world, and the heaven world is the red dust. There's no distinction between them. The heaven world was high and mighty. The human world was filled with the red dust. Transcending the red dust was like ascending to the heaven world. That was an ancient myth. However, what Jiangli wanted to do was to pull the high and mighty heaven world back to the human world. In the future, his ideal state was to be a person of the human world and run for the position of the Lord of the heaven world. Even if he was a supreme existence that surpassed the great emperor, he still needed to be elected by everyone. By creating such a rule, the high and mighty people wouldn't trample on the people, treat them like dogs, and slaughter them at will. Between heaven and earth, there was an era of order, an era of rules. Sure enough, as soon as the red dust celestial world was named, heaven and earth seemed to tremble. Jiang Li's ideals were deeply embedded into the void. His ideals were of great merit to the order of the myriad worlds, and would be of great use to them. The essence of the order of the myriad worlds would bless him. Even the people on earth could start a sect and become an ancestor if they put forward an idea. That was how the 100 schools of thought came about. Apart from that, all kinds of sects were the same. Not to mention Jiang Li's means. Feeling the feedback from the origin of order, Jiang Li's cultivation seemed to have deepened by another level. Patriarch Demonheart had wanted to pull him into the depths of Demonheart Island, but he hadn't expected that the spacetime of his island would be excavated and brought into the red dust realm. Jiang Li saw an old man appear on Demonheart Island. This old man had a gloomy expression and was dressed entirely in white. Only his chest was black, as if his heart was black. A black-hearted white man formed a very strange scene. This was Patriarch Demonheart. One look and you could tell that he wasn't a good person. He seemed to be the condensation of the demons in the hearts of all living beings. He had already communicated with the Supreme Demon World's secrets and grasped a part of its origin. Evil, cruelty, selfishness, and slaughter were all within. Of course, Patriarch Demonheart was completely calm, not impulsive. He was using his heart to control the devil ghosts, not the other way around. In that regard, he was different from the countless wretch devils and wretch gods he had encountered. He had already grasped the essence of the heart and the demons. Are you really an origami? Patriarch Demonheart looked at the Demonheart Island he had painstakingly built up and was actually surrounded by the red dust realm. You're definitely not an origami. If origami were this strong, they would have broken through everything long ago. They wouldn't be living under someone else's roof. I am an origami, but the outside world is changing too quickly. How could Jiang Li admit that he wasn't an origami? The Patriarch mental demon was extremely difficult to deal with. Even though he had the upper hand thanks to the Well of Life, it would be difficult for him to advance any further. Subduing the Patriarch mental demon would be an extremely difficult task. In fact, it might even be impossible. Right now, he was here to cooperate with Patriarch Demonheart. Alright, I'll believe that you're an origami for now. Why are you looking for me? Is it to find the terrifying existence that devoured the 5 emperors? Patriarch Demonheart asked. Of course. Jiangli said. Patriarch Demonheart, I can't suppress that monster on my own. It's very harmful to the Grand Emperors in the Prison of Chaos. You've been working in the Prison of Chaos for many years, so I hope we can work together. Of course, you have other Grand Emperor brothers here, too. Call them up, and we'll use all of our techniques to find out who it is. That way, everyone will benefit. I don't know if you're telling the truth, Patriarch Demonheart said. I refuse to believe that someone could devour the reincarnations of the 5 emperors. There's no harm in working together, Jiangli said. By the way, Patriarch Demonheart, don't you want to get out? Hee. Get out? Patriarch Demonheart chuckled coldly. If I wanted to, I would have left a long time ago. Let me tell you something. I'm not here to suppress the owner of the imperishable tower. I'm just pretending to be weak. My ultimate goal is to assimilate the great necropolis, which is the true treasure. Do you understand? You're really ambitious. You're just pretending to be weak. How could you not know that the higher-ups of the imperishable tower are using your own scheme to imprison you? If you could get out, you would have left a long time ago. Let me tell you, there's an inescapable net waiting for you outside. Besides, I've already taken control of this place. It's going to be very difficult for you to get out. Jiangli continued to push. Although Patriarch Demonheart was unfathomable, Jiangli still had what it took to force him. Faced with Jiangli's aura, Patriarch Mental Demon calmed down. Alright, let's not talk about such pointless nonsense. Since such a terrifying existence has appeared, it doesn't matter if we capture him. You just said that you want to betray the Immortal Tower's star field and send us out. That's not it. Jiangli wasn't going to let Patriarch Demonheart find any openings. He knew that Patriarch Demonheart might seem weak, but he was hiding his trump cards very well. He'd been at a disadvantage countless times in the past, and had even been pursued by the world of immortals. But he'd always managed to escape and enter the Devil world. Then he'd fought with the Devil Lord for power, and founded the Demonheart bloodline in the Devil sect. In the end, he'd failed. But he hadn't died. Instead, he'd killed plenty of devils in the Devil world, absorbed enough devil power, and stole a portion of their essence. If he assumed that Patriarch Demonheart was showing weakness, then he'd be in for a very bad time in the future. Therefore, Jiangli wasn't going to let his guard down. Even if he thought he could kill Patriarch Demonheart, he wasn't completely safe. He could resurrect people's hearts, which wasn't something that just anyone could do. Not even a Grand Emperor could do it. The Heart Sovereign had once been able to resurrect himself in anyone's dreams. Clearly, Patriarch Demonheart had learned his brother's consummate art. Alright, we've come to a temporary agreement. We'll search for that terrifying existence. As for how to refine it, we'll decide how to distribute it later. Otherwise, we won't be able to catch it. We'll discuss whether to braise it or steam it. We'll make a final decision after we come to a conclusion, Jiangli said. Fine. But if it's something that devoured the reincarnations of the 5 emperors, then the 2 of us won't be able to do anything to it. We'll need to find someone else. You're right. I've been here for years, and I know quite a few brothers and sisters. For example, Grand Emperor Heavenly Dipper, Grand Emperor Earth Fiend, and Grand Emperor Ghost God. They're all here in the Great Necropolis. What? Grand Emperor Heavenly Dipper and Grand Emperor Earth Fiend are here. Didn't they vanish into the river of time? Jiangli was shocked. These 2 emperors were nothing to take lightly. Chapter 8:26. The heavenly spirits and earthly fiends had 36 and 72 transformations. The so-called change was change. The heavenly spirits and earthly fiends represented the 108 supreme principles of the world. They were the condensation of karmic luck, and were definitely not something that ordinary cultivators could compare to. The heavenly dipper Grand Arch and the earthly fiend Grand Arch were a pair of twin stars in the primordial era. Individually, they couldn't compare to famous existences like the Heart Arch, the immortal Slayer Grand Arch, and the Middle Sovereign. However, if they joined forces, they would be able to reign supreme over the pugilistic world. It seemed as though no one in the entire world could do anything to them. Even the great Empress Mother, who was rumored to be the strongest among the great emperors, couldn't do anything to them. When the true essence of Heavenly Dipper and Earthly Fiend were combined, they seemed to be able to summon a mysterious existence from the unseen world. Who would have thought that the two of them had also entered the depths of the Chaos Prison? How did they get in? Jiang Li searched through the memories of the Aragami and exchanged information about the prison with the Aragami, but it was to no avail. He couldn't find any traces of the heavenly spirit and earthly fiend great emperors. These two great emperors came in with the identity of other prisoners. Later on, they escaped like cicadas and were casually killed by others. Then, they gained their freedom and wandered outside of the law. They won't be bound by the rules of the Immortal Tower, said Patriarch Mind Demon. These two are also here to look for the 5 Emperors' magic treasures? Or perhaps they're here to assimilate the great necropolis? Jiang Li asked. Of course they're here to refine the great necropolis. The 5 Emperors came in later, but these two came before me. They're already on the verge of gaining control of the great necropolis. Back when the 2 Grand Emperors joined forces, none of the other Grand Emperors could do anything to them. Their cultivation bases are getting stronger and stronger, to the point where it's hard to say what they're capable of. If something terrifying like the 5 Emperors appears, they'll definitely be able to help us capture this person. However, it did not matter to Jiang Li. He was now an Aragami, and he was also the master of this prison. Part of the origin energy of the prison was under his control. So, he had the upper hand in this place. However, the Heavenly Dipper Great Emperors and Earthly Fiend Great Emperors were already famous in the primordial era, so they were a little scary. He had to be careful. It seemed like there were too many enemies in the depths of the Immortal Tower. When the plate was big, it was inevitable that there would be a mix of fish and dragons. Unlike the human realm, it was still small and had strengthened its management. The cultivation of the human realm's great emperor was thousands of times stronger. Any suspicious existence would be filtered out, causing the current world to be completely clear. All of a sudden, Jiang Li's mind stirred. Patriarch Demonheart, the patriarch of the Chaos Prison, used the deathless steel to suppress the ancestor of the martial Tao, Ba Liming. He's an existence that surpasses Grand Emperors. You have to be careful. He's working with Grand Emperors Heaven Empyrean and Earth Fiend to take control of the Great Necropolis. But if the Great Necropolis shakes, it's highly likely that Ba Liming, the ancestor of the martial Tao, will be released. Don't worry, Yang Qi said. The patriarch of the martial Tao Ba Liming doesn't kill the innocent. We're going to use his cultivation base to destroy the warding magics of the Great Necropolis. Patriarch Mental Demon said. Back then, the owner of the imperishable tower suppressed him in the depths of this place because he wanted to borrow his power to refine the entire tomb for himself. If we help him now, he'll come out and fight the owner of the Deathless Tower to the death. When the time comes, the Deathless Tower's planetary system will be destroyed, and we'll be the ones to benefit. Actually, I can tell that you have the mark of the owner of the Deathless Tower on you. Why don't you just rebel? Don't tell me you want to be a slave forever? You're just waiting for the right opportunity. Don't even think about instigating me. Jiang Li laughed heartily. As long as I'm here, Patriarch Demonheart, you people can forget about destroying the peace of the Great Necropolis. The necropolis will obediently wait for my master to assimilate it. Not necessarily. Your master is slowly losing control of the patriarch of the martial Dao Ba Liming. Patriarch Demonheart didn't seem to care at all. In order to keep Ba Liming under control, he's actually working with the owner of the brain of the universe and Crown Prince Great Dream. I don't know about anyone else, but my nephew knows Crown Prince Great Dream very well. He's a genius, but he doesn't like the way he was born. He's not a child of an immortal world, and therefore doesn't have the favor of the will of the immortal world. So he left the immortal world to find his own destiny, which led to him becoming a grand emperor. Unfortunately, he wasn't satisfied, and was even more arrogant than the heavens. He went around pillaging, killing people of the same generation, and devouring their destiny. Eventually, he was banished by Grand Emperor Spirit Will. He's the type of person who kills his companions whenever he gets the chance. In fact, he doesn't even spit out the bones. Don't be fooled by the fact that he's in control of the heavenly court. You know a lot about what's going on out there? Jiangli said. So you have a lot of spies out there? Of course. If I didn't have any spies, how could I be called Patriarch Demonheart? Truth be told, I have a lot of organizations in the devil world. Once I get out of here, I can find some people to help me. Hehehe. The devil world might not even be in the hands of Grand Emperor Devilheart. I'll take it back. Looking around at the red dust world, Patriarch Demonheart said, "This move of yours was born out of my nephew's megaplexus world, but it vastly surpasses his. He's just an illusory idea, but you're actually real. Unfortunately, you're still a bit too early to trap me. Break." Suddenly, the word break rang out. The surroundings were filled with countless hearts. The pitch-black hearts suddenly exploded, turning the entire red dust world into dust. Jiangli smiled faintly, but didn't attack. Instead, he ordered Patriarch Demonheart to destroy the red dust world. If he used the Well of Life to absorb Patriarch Demonheart's attack and convert it into primal chaos paleo energy, he wouldn't be able to escape. Although Patriarch Demonheart was powerful, he couldn't compare to the Well of Life. He didn't understand how powerful it was. The Well of Life had been created by the combined wisdom of countless Grand Emperors in the Undying Magic Lamp planetary system, as well as experts who surpassed the Grand Emperor level. Then it had been destroyed by primal chaos. Although it wasn't as powerful as it had been in the past, it had been destroyed and rebuilt. The Well of Life was a remnant of the primal chaos tribulation, and it contained the true essence of something that not even primal chaos could destroy. As long as Jiangli gained enlightenment of its profundities, he could use Taoist techniques to repair it. Not only would he be able to restore it to its former glory, but he would also be able to summon all of its power and give birth to the myriad worlds of primal chaos. He would transform the myriad worlds into myriad worlds. At that time, not all cultivators could imagine such power. Not even the heavenly king of primordial beginning could imagine it. Patriarch Demonheart appeared in the form of an old man. Looking Jiang Li's Wild's god incarnation up and down, he said, "Come on, let's go see Grand Emperor Heaven Empyrean Earth Fiend." "Lead the way," Yang Qi said. Jiang Li secretly used some of the abilities of the Great Necropolis prison to search for Grand Emperor's Heaven Empyrean Earth Fiend. Obviously, the two emperors had hidden themselves very well, and the system hadn't been able to find any clues. That said, Jiang Li was secretly delighted. The two emperors had come to steal the Great Necropolis, and if they succeeded, it would lead to the ancestor of martial Dao, Ba Liming, being freed. At that point, the human world would usher in a golden age that would last for all eternity. Just now, he had feigned civility with Patriarch Mental Demon and managed to find out some secrets. In fact, these people also wanted to release Ba Liming and have him fight the master of the Immortal Tower fiercely. When both sides were injured, they would be able to reap the benefit. However, it was easier to invite the devil in than to send him away. When the time came for Ba Liming to be released, things would no longer be within their control. Patriarch Demon Heart flew forward. Not long after, they arrived at a hidden location. It was a pitch-black and serene forest. No one knew exactly how deep the forest was hidden. The forest was naturally not made of normal trees, but rather strange vines that came from the archaic era. They grew by absorbing resentment and released a devilish nature. However, they were different from natural flowers. Nature flowers absorbed resentment energy and transformed it into pure energy. Primogenitor devil vines? Jiang Li's eyes glittered as memories flooded his mind. That's the original primogenitor devil vine. According to the legends, a bottle gourd formed on one of the vines during the primal chaos explosion. That bottle gourd contains the original devilishness, and there are two of them. One is an immortal world, and the other is a devil world. Both represent righteousness and evil. Eventually, the vine exploded, leaving behind only a few fragments. Countless almighty beings from primeval times have tried to get their hands on one of the fragments, but none have succeeded. Oh? You recognize this thing? Patriarch Mental Demon was taken aback. I dare say that in this world, there are very few people who know about the ancestral immortal fiend vine. Even the ancient great emperors wouldn't know about it because there are very few fragments of the ancestral immortal fiend vine. Furthermore, it's basically impossible to cultivate it. Then how did you and Grand Emperors Heaven Dipper and Earth Fiend do it? Jiangli said. This forest is actually a manifestation of the primogenitor devil vine. But I can only see the devilishness, not the immortal nature. Don't tell me you haven't succeeded yet? You're right, I haven't succeeded. I went through untold hardships to cultivate the devilishness, and I still need to enter the immortal world to cultivate it. However, I have to steal a portion of the immortal world's essence. I didn't get much back then, so I need more. When the time comes, I'd like your help to steal the world's essence. Would you be willing? Patriarch Demonheart asked. We'll talk about it when the time comes, Jiangli said. Don't tell me you really want the immortal world bottle gourd and the devil world bottle gourd? It's not me, it's Heaven Dipper and Earth Fiend. Grand Emperors, come out! Chapter 8:27 Rumble. In the depths of the endless demonic vine forest, two figures appeared. They were wrapped in faint gourds. They were two great sovereigns. One of them was a purple gourd while the other was a black gourd. The purple gourd represented the immortal world while the black one represented the demon world. In the ancient chaotic era, a vine had appeared after the big explosion. Two gourds had appeared on the vine, one purple and one black. The purple gourd represented the immortal world while the black was the demon world. Now, Patriarch Heart Devil, Grand Emperor Celestial Dipper, and Grand Emperor Earth Fiend were working together, using their boundless divine abilities and boundless destiny to unravel the mysteries of the devil vine. Now, they were trying to form an immortal world and a devil world. Although the two gourds weren't much and couldn't compare to the immortal world or demon world, they still had a trace of undying might to them. They were indestructible and undying, unstoppable. These two treasures seemed to surpass ordinary chaos divine weapons. Of course, they were far from being formed. In other words, they were incomplete. As for the Celestial Dipper Grand Emperor, he wielded the immortal world gourd, which suited his status. The earthly fiend Grand Emperor naturally wielded the demon world gourd, which was close to the demonic Tao in the first place. The Celestial Dipper Grand Emperor, earthly fiend Grand Emperor, was in their control. Jiangli looked at the Celestial Dipper Grand Emperor. He wore a Taoist robe that glowed with 5 different colors. He had a long beard and a pale golden complexion. There were 30 tiny holes in his forehead that constantly breathed in vital energy. He carried the might of the Celestial Dipper Grand Emperor. As for the earthly fiend Grand Emperor, he wore black battle armor that had the shape of a dark golden dragon on it. There were many sabers and spears on his back, and there were 72 tiny holes in his forehead. The bodies of these two could be said to be a natural phenomenon. Jiang Li circulated the boundless Great Tao to observe their cultivation bases. Although they were primordial grand emperors with boundless divine might, they were far from being invincible. But if the two of them joined forces and linked their auras as one, they would become the overlords of the world. No one would be able to shake their magic power. Unless it was an existence that surpassed the Grand Emperor realm, no Grand Emperor would be able to suppress them. Even Jiang Li couldn't do it now. Of course, if the battle dragged on for a long time, Jiang Li would definitely be able to gain the upper hand with the Well of Life. However, the Tiangang Disha Great Emperor also had other trump cards that were not as simple as they seemed. This is the Aragami? Patriarch Mental Demon, why did you bring him here? If he were to tell the higher-ups of the Immortal Tower about us, we would still be in big trouble. The Heavenly Dipper Earthly Fiend Great Emperor was very hostile towards the desolate god. No, for us now, this is nothing. Patriarch Demon Heart cackled darkly. Right now, the Good Fortune Jade Disc is using all of its power to suppress Ba Liming. Why would it care about us? Furthermore, the desolate god before him was also a rebellious person. As long as it was a great emperor, how could it be possible for it to be a slave? Every martial monarch is ambitious and famous. As long as we help him break the oath, he will regain his freedom. At that time, what else can't he do? We can all become existences that surpass great emperors. Can an oath be broken? What a joke! Jiang Li said deliberately. Under normal circumstances, of course, you can't break the oath. But if something happens to the entire starfield, things will be different. Patriarch Mental Demon said, do you think that just because you are loyal to the master of the Immortal Tower, he will treat you well? Let me tell you, in his eyes, you are nothing more than pawns, ants. If they fail to suppress the progenitor of martial arts, Ba Liming, in the final moments, he will activate the oath you took and sacrifice you. Impossible. Jiang Li pretended to have a change of expression. Our oath is relative. The higher-ups definitely don't have the power to take our lives. Humph, there are only absolutes. There is no relative. Only the weak believe in relative. Primordial chaos gives birth to all things and destroys all things. That is absolute. But even though you say that, you already believe us in your heart. Patriarch Mental Demon laughed weirdly again. I know that deep in your heart, you don't like to be left alone. You have long wanted to rebel. But it's natural that you don't want to admit it. After all, we don't know each other well. All right, let's get down to business. Waving his hand, Jiang Li said, I discovered a terrifying entity that has already devoured the reincarnations of the 5 emperors. That's why I'm here to capture it. Unfortunately, the cultivation base of the reincarnations is limited, and I'm worried that not only will I fail to capture it, but it will also be a disaster. That's why I'm here. You must be joking. Given the karmic luck of the 5 sovereigns, their reincarnated bodies would be able to avert any danger and turn the situation around. It was a blessing in disguise. How could they be devoured by someone else? The Heavenly Dipper Tharch and the Earth Emanations Tharch didn't believe Jiang Li's words at all. We won't lose anything here, Patriarch Mental Demon said, trying to smooth things over. Besides, I think the Wild's God is telling the truth. We still need to focus on our cultivation, Grand Emperor Celestial said. We don't have time to get into a fight over something that doesn't even exist. You can leave now. We definitely won't do anything for you. Oh right. If you tell anyone about what happened in the 9 hells, we'll definitely make you pay. All right, Patriarch Mental Demon said. That's the temper of Grand Emperors Celestial and Earth Fiend. Wild's God, it's not that they don't want to help. They want benefits. What benefits? Jiang Li saw that the 3 of them were echoing each other, but he did not get angry. Oh right, didn't you say that there was another ghost god emperor? Why isn't he here yet? Oh, right. Patriarch Mental Demon was shocked. Ghost God Grand Emperor comes and goes like a shadow. In the past, when we formed an alliance, he would come whenever I called for him. Why isn't he here today? Did something happen to him? Grand Emperors Celestial and Earth Fiend were also surprised. In their eyes, Ghost God Grand Emperors were extremely punctual and would never make any mistakes. Ghost gods were omnipresent, and as the saying went, God 3 feet above his head, God 3 feet above his head. But now God 3 feet above his head had vanished. That was no small problem. Grand Emperors usually kept their promises, and their actions were in accordance with the heavenly Taos. If they made a mistake, their destiny would decline, and they would face a calamity. Let me calculate. Communicate again. Patriarch Mental Demon knew that something was wrong. With a roar, a black heart appeared behind him, which rose into the air and then exploded, transforming into a painting of mountains and rivers. The painting was dark and gloomy, and filled with devil chi. Finally, a figure appeared. This shadow seemed to be a ghost god. The aura of a great emperor was extremely vigorous. It was an ancient great emperor, and an unparalleled aura drifted out from it. Ghost God Grand Emperor, what are you doing? Why aren't you coming over? Patriarch Mental Demon's voice boomed like thunder. A miserable shriek rang out from the painting, and a bald head appeared behind the Ghost God Grand Emperor. Above the head was a gaping, bloody mouth, with a forked tongue that grabbed the Ghost God Grand Emperor and dragged him into the depths of darkness. Patriarch Mental Demon, save me! Save me! The Ghost God Grand Emperor's voice was filled with misery. He was being devoured, and the hand that appeared in the depths of the bald head was bizarre, evil, and nauseating. With every tug, a viscous liquid would seep out, threatening to melt the Ghost God Grand Emperor. What kind of monster is this? Patriarch Mental Demon and Grand Emperors Heaven Dipper and Earth Fiend roared in unison, unleashing a beam of light that pierced through the depths of the void. But by the time it struck the painting, the Ghost God Grand Emperor had already been pulled into the bald head's mouth, which then closed and vanished. Patriarch Mental Demon and Earth Fiend's attacks had no effect. This is the scene from before. The Ghost God Grand Emperor was already devoured. Patriarch Mental Demon's face was ashen. We've been fooled. Damn it, damn it. Heaven Dipper and Earth Fiend slapped the air. The Ghost God Grand Emperor is our ally, and he's extremely strong. How could he have been devoured? Who was it? Now, do you believe me? Jiangli said. There's a terrifying existence in here. If we don't capture him, we'll suffer a calamity. In the end, all the gods here will be devoured. Don't think you can escape. In truth, Jiangli was also shocked. The Ghost God Grand Emperor had been devoured without the slightest ability to resist. Just what level had this evil existence reached? If not for the well of myriad life, he probably wouldn't have been able to escape either. We believe you. Heaven Dipper and Earth Fiend exchanged a glance. Just what is this thing? I told you long ago that it's a terrifying existence born from the primordial chaos. The myriad worlds are about to perish, and a monster is bound to appear. Patriarch Demonheart, you should know that the primordial chaos wants to reclaim our lives. It wants to reclaim the lives of the myriad worlds. There will definitely be demon-level geniuses born to reap our lives. Perhaps this is just the first wave. There will be many more demon-level geniuses to follow. Jiangli knew that the 3 Grand Emperors had no choice but to believe him. That's true. After a moment of thought, Patriarch Demonheart said, he consumed Grand Emperor Ghost God and the 5 Emperors. If we can capture him and assimilate him, we'll definitely be able to advance even further. Not only will we be able to acquire his destiny, but we'll also be able to acquire the rewards of fate. In fact, we'll even be able to acquire the true rewards of all existence. The material plane itself didn't want to be destroyed. In the material world, if there was great merit to it, it would also reward it. However, the material plane wasn't the will of the heavens. Rather, it was a combination of the myriad worlds and spacetime. The primordial chaos gave birth to the material plane and then destroyed it. But the material plane wasn't willing to be destroyed and would fight back. Patriarch Mental Demon had already comprehended the ultimate profundities of the material plane and primordial chaos. Chapter 828. Myriad worlds was a general term. Myriad referred to an infinite number of universes. The term, myriad worlds, didn't actually refer to 10,000 universes. They were like the eternal sands of the universe, filled with chaotic flows of spacetime. Among them, the third-dimensional universes were the largest, and were considered unique. Of the other universes, the immortal world was the largest. Of course, those universes were collectively referred to as the material world. There were certain rules that governed the myriad worlds, and the material world itself was rewarded for the destruction of hell and primal chaos. Every time heaven and earth was destroyed, it was also an opportunity. There were people who would come across incredible opportunities, and even survive a tribulation to be reborn in the depths of primal chaos and retain their memories. That was something that even the almighty experts of ancient times yearned for. Some of the most powerful entities had done such things and had even succeeded. Permetha wouldn't have existed otherwise. There was always a chance of survival in heaven and earth, and as long as you grabbed hold of it, miracles could happen. But if they took advantage of this opportunity, they would be able to seize the favor of the material world and acquire a foundation of indestructibility in the depths of their souls. August Patriarch Demonheart, Grand Emperor's Heavenly Dipper, and Grand Emperor's Earth Fiend all understood that this was an opportunity and also a challenge. Even if the four of us join forces and set up a spell formation, I doubt we'll be able to divine the whereabouts of that entity. For the first time, August Patriarch Demonheart was feeling very troubled. Even if he could capture that freakish genius and assimilate him, he would still receive a backlash from primal chaos. It doesn't matter. I already control a portion of the great necropolis, and I just need power to activate it. There are many places in the necropolis that I can't control on my own. But with your help, I can set up a spell formation here that can scan the entire necropolis. I guarantee I'll be able to find that person. Jiangli blurred into motion, causing countless streams of light to converge into the shape of a spell formation. At the very center of the formation was a tiny great necropolis jail. So, you control a portion of the great necropolis. A vicious expression appeared on August Patriarch Demonheart's face. Exchanging a glance with Grand Emperor's Heavenly Dipper and Earth Fiend, he said, "All right. We'll help you control the great necropolis. What do you have in mind? How are we supposed to activate the formation?" "It's simple," Yang Qi said. "It's a key that controls the great necropolis. Normally, the system controls it, but if a devil god doesn't obey, it can be used to take control of the great necropolis and kill them." Of course, the most important thing was to control the actions of the Fiend Celestials, preventing them from hiding in the depths of the prison. But every time I summon the system, I have to carry out a large number of sacrifices. It's not worth it, so I won't summon it this time. We'll do it ourselves. Jiang Li's words were easy to understand. So that's how it is. We guessed it long ago. Grand Emperor Heavenly Dipper waved his finger, sending a stream of vital energy into the great necropolis. The entire great necropolis trembled. Boom, boom, boom. In the depths of the great necropolis, the vital energy began to condense. This is the control hub of the great necropolis, Yang Qi thought. A look of ecstasy appeared on the earth emanations Thearka's face. This way, I will have a deeper understanding of the great tomb. Cut the crap, Grand Emperor Heavenly Dipper said. Let's activate the formation and deal with that hellion. He placed both hands on the portal, sending boundless power from the Tao of Devils into it. It was a power that could topple mountains and topple seas, causing the entire great necropolis to shrink down to the size of a speck of dust. Vital energy surged. In the depths of the great necropolis, countless powerful entities had no idea what was happening and were in hiding, not daring to make the slightest movement. They could sense that the depths of the great necropolis were about to undergo unprecedented transformations. Jiangli placed his hand on the spell formation's core, sending his own power into it. As soon as he did, the Tao of Heaven transformed and shot up into the sky. Divine light pierced through heaven and earth, and every attack was like a divine sword stabbing into the void, causing obscene rumbling sounds to echo out. Some of the more obscure corners of the great necropolis were illuminated by the light of the God-light. Jiangli activated the spell formation's core, but he didn't look directly at the center, where Ba Liming was imprisoned. He was looking for the demon that he had to capture no matter what. Of course, he also knew that his every move was being monitored. Therefore, he was befitting of his identity as a rage god, as well as the interests of the Immortal Tower. At this very moment, in the highest level of the Immortal Tower, there was a palace. This palace was a pagoda, and at the top of the pagoda sat a man. This man was the son of the master of the Immortal Tower, Technique. The meaning of technique was the means. The manifestation of all power was art. Taoist techniques referred to Tao technique. The Tao was formless, and techniques were the manifestation of the Tao. As for the woman from the brain of the universe, she was called divination. Divination referred to calculations, laws, and the workings of heaven. Divination referred to using Tao techniques to manipulate the workings of heaven and change the fate of all things. This was the supreme divine might of algebra. Young Lord, there's a huge commotion going on in the Chaos dungeon. The Wilds God is working with Patriarch Devilheart, and there are 2 other unparalleled entities there. I'm not sure what they're up to. Young Lord, do you want to interfere? Very good. Just now, the Desolate God took the initiative to report something important to me. A gratified look appeared on Shu's face. There are 2 other powerful existences, the legendary Heavenly Dipper and Earthly Fiend Grand Emperors of the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms. I have no idea how they managed to sneak in. They are searching for a supreme demon-level genius who devoured the reincarnations of the 5 sovereigns. What? There's such a thing? The other Grand Emperors were shocked. Even Grand Emperors of Heavenly Dipper and Earthly Fiend are in there? When did they sneak in? Young Lord. Yin Yang Grand Emperor's face was solemn. Grand Emperors of Heavenly Dipper and Earthly Fiend are definitely plotting something. We can't let our guard down. This time, Desolate God made a huge contribution. It's clear that he doesn't have any ulterior motives. That's only natural. He has an oath on him, and his fate is intertwined with our Immortal Tower. We're bound together for good or ill. Naturally, he'll do his best for us. Technique said. Forget about Grand Emperors of Heavenly Dipper and Earthly Fiend. The most shocking thing is the existence that devoured the reincarnations of the 5 emperors. I only found out now that such a terrifying demon has sneaked in. We have to kill him. I still don't believe that there's no demon that can devour the reincarnations of the 5 emperors. Yin Yang Grand Emperor said. Look, this is the image that Desolate God sent over. I didn't believe it either, but now I have no choice but to believe it. Besides, what Desolate God said makes sense. The calamity of the myriad worlds is coming, and a peerless demon has descended from the depths of primordial chaos. I agree with that. What do we do now, young lord? Yin Yang Grand Bullet asked. Bide our time, Yang Qi replied. We can't do anything. Don't forget that all of you have to defend your positions. Use your strongest divine abilities to suppress Ba Liming, the ancestor of the martial Tao. I bet the fusion between us and the universe brain is about to begin. When that time comes, the good fortune jade disc will be the strongest, but the backlash from Wang Chao and Ba Liming will definitely be heaven-shaking and earth-shattering. Our planetary systems will most likely be destroyed, and when that time comes, you'll have to be prepared to sacrifice your lives. Yes, sir. Grand Emperor Yin Yang said, not daring to disobey. But the prison of chaos is the key. If Desolate God can't keep things under control, Grand Emperor's Heavenly Dipper, Earthly Fiend, and August Patriarch Heart Devil will take advantage of the situation. Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on things. The Desolate God has already reported everything to me. He's actually planning to use August Patriarch Heart Devil and Grand Emperor's Heavenly Dipper and Earthly Fiend to kill that demon. At the same time, he'll use that power to strengthen the great necropolis. If the young lord has plans, Grand Emperor Yin Yang said, then everything is in order. It seems the Desolate God didn't hide anything from the young lord. That said, if something goes wrong, he'll have to sacrifice himself to ensure that the plan goes smoothly. He might be a Grand Emperor, but to the young lord and the young lord, he's nothing more than a slave. Grand Emperor Yin Yang didn't seem like a Grand Emperor at all. Clearly, he was being protected by some sort of warding spell. Of course, Grand Emperor Yin Yang said. But don't act like my father and I are going to sacrifice you. Anyone who has done us good will be reborn in primal chaos when we transcend. We'll entertain them there. Truth be told, the myriad worlds aren't all that spectacular. In fact, the primal chaos of the past has given birth to even more things. Grand Emperor Yin Yang was giving the Grand Emperors a pretty good idea. Power of the great necropolis, fire. Jiangli had already communicated with Grand Emperor Yin Yang and knew that he was being monitored by some sort of god power. Of course, that was exactly what Grand Emperor Yin Yang wanted. He wanted to fish in troubled waters and reap the benefit. The Deathless Pagoda had Ba Liming and himself, Grand Emperor's Heaven Empyrean Fiend, August Patriarch Heart Devil, and that terrifying Hellion. In total, there were 4 major powers involved. As far as Jiangli was concerned, this was the perfect time to make use of his strength. As more and more people fought, especially Grand Emperors, he could absorb the power of the fighting and turn it into primal chaos palea energy, which he could use to fill the mortal world and help people achieve breakthroughs. The mortal world was a force to be reckoned with. Hundreds of thousands of humans on Earth had been cleansed of their curses, and their cultivation bases were advancing with each passing day. Sages and great Tao experts were popping up everywhere, and the higher echelons were now comparable to god spirits. Thanks to the primal chaos sludge, there was now an endless supply of resources. It was more than enough to support the birth of multiple Grand Emperors. Whether or not a world could give birth to a Grand Emperor depended on both destiny and resources. Without resources, it was like a shallow pond that couldn't give birth to a flood dragon. In truth, what Jiangli wanted to do now was to capture that demon and place him in the depths of the God Wish Pill. If Patriarch Heart Devil and the Heavenly Dipper and Earthly Fiend Emperors were up to no good, Jiangli wanted to place the 3 Heavenly Emperors into the God Wish Pill as well. Once he succeeded, the God Wish Pill would be perfected, and he would be able to make a wish to surpass fate and surpass the Heavenly Emperors. Chapter 829. Rumble. An extremely strong force was transmitted to the depths of heaven and earth, and was reflected back again. Vital energy surged. The great necropolis was like a pot of boiling water, filling the area with mist, which was the essence of the great necropolis itself. Jiangli, with the help of Grand Emperor's Heavenly Dipper, Earth Fiend, and Hegemon Devil, was able to unleash the true might of the great necropolis. At the same time, he was getting a feel for the cultivation bases of Grand Emperor's Heavenly Dipper and Earth Fiend. The Tao of Heavenly Dipper and the Tao of Earth Fiend combined to form the Great Circle of 108, with Devil acting as a medium. The three of them were working together in perfect harmony, forming a stable triangle. The transformations of heaven and earth, the alternation of the sun and moon, were all part of it. As the three of them converged, a stream of power began to seep into Jiangli, almost as if it were a heart devil, invisible and undetectable. It was obviously Grand Emperor Devil's doing. These three weren't good people, especially Patriarch Heart Devil, who was born from the devil energy of heaven and earth. He was an evil schemer, so how could he possibly be willing to cooperate with anyone? He was using this opportunity to infiltrate Jiangli and take control of him in one fell swoop. Of course, to Devil, this wasn't Jiangli, but rather the Wild's god. Given the Wild's god's cultivation base, he was confident that he could infiltrate him. After all, no Grand Emperor would be able to stop the three of them. They were the strongest of all Grand Emperors. If Jiangli didn't have the Well of Living Beings, he would have fallen prey to the three of them, and by the time he came to his senses, his nascent divinity would have been implanted with heart devils. Unfortunately, the thing that Jiangli had was too terrifying. It was an ancient well that even the Great Chaos Tribulation couldn't do anything to. It could absorb all the attacks of the great emperors, not just physical attacks, but also spiritual attacks or any other kind of attack. The power of the three of them entered Jiang Li's body without a sound and sank into the well of living beings, transforming it into primal chaos palea energy. At the same time, Jiang Li's unbounded Tao began to seep into the three of them. A vast amount of information flowed into his mind. This was not information about their cultivation bases, but information about the primogenitor immortal demon vine. The immortal demon vine was an ancient fragment that had once formed the celestial world and the demon world. In other words, it was the mother of the celestial world and the demon world. If Jiangli could get the ancestor fairy demon vine, then he might be able to understand the basic rules of the celestial realm and the demon realm in the future, and he would have more confidence in restraining the great dream crown prince. Much of the ancestor immortal demon vine's information also turned into a source of knowledge and fused into his infinity Tao. Within Jiang Li's mind, a primal chaos seemed to appear. Within that primal chaos, after countless years of brewing, a primogenitor immortal devil vine appeared. Deep within the immortal devil vine were two bottle gourds. This was the process of divining the evolution of the immortal world and devil world. After an unknown period of time, Jiang Li's mind suddenly became clear. I see. This is the transformation of the ancestor fairy demon vine. I have already understood the secrets of the immortal world and the demon world. The infinity Tao has evolved again. The infinity immortal demon of the infinity godly fist is already in my mind. Jiang Li was very pleased. He felt that he should be the one to nurture the ancestor fairy demon vine. The ancestor fairy demon vine was originally nurtured by him. This thing was born from primal chaos, and his ancient well of all beings was a primal chaos converter. When his realm was high, he could extract ancient chi from the depths of the primal chaos and turn it into all things. He could also shatter all things into primal chaos. He could use it skillfully and freely. He was an unparalleled overlord. With the abstruseness of the ancient well of all beings, Jiang Li grasped more of the ancestor fairy demon vine's secrets. Divining again, he increased the intensity of his divinations. The celestial dipper Great Emperor, the earth fiend Great Emperor, and the mental demon Grandmaster also nodded their heads and began to use their strongest mystic arts. They had long planned to plant the demonic chi into the body of the desolate god without it noticing, and they would be able to completely control it. They did not expect that Jiang Li would obtain the supreme secret of the ancestral immortal demon vine instead. But with the four of them working together, and with the help of the technique, the divinations came to fruition. In the depths of the great necropolis, a pitch-black shadow was locked onto. It seemed to control the paramount magical laws of space, and was able to evade the detection of the Grand Emperors. Unfortunately, the great necropolis itself surpassed the Grand Emperors. With the power of the great necropolis, it was easy for it to lock onto a person. That's the shadow. Jiang Li's expression flickered and he tensed up. That's right, Patriarch Heart Devil said, his hair standing on end. He's a terrifying entity. My heavens! His aura of extermination and wickedness far surpasses the limits of wretched devils. Even the most ruthless and inhumane devils of the devil world and netherworld can't compare to him. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. We have to kill it. Grand Emperors Heavenly Dipper and Earth Fiend shouted. In the tallest temple, Shu and Grand Emperors Yin Yang were also observing. What a wretched thing. It's not something that can be born in the myriad of worlds. Young Lord, what do we do? I can't believe something like this has infiltrated our planetary system. Once it starts wreaking havoc, even I won't be able to escape. Kill it. Only death can kill this terrifying thing. Shu's expression turned serious as he looked at the shadow. His heart was pounding, and he could sense the power of destruction descending upon him. Even if he were to face an existence that surpassed the great Emperor realm, he wouldn't feel this way. In other words, not even Grand Emperors were as strong as this shadow. It was obvious that this was a monster born from the depths of primal chaos, a boundless tribulation devil. But first, let's let Grand Emperors Heavenly Dipper and Earth Fiend fight it out. Of course, Shu wasn't going to make a move right now. He knew that Hegemon Demonheart was using all sorts of crafty plots and machinations. In the depths of the prison, the four experts locked onto the shadow. Whoosh! Grand Emperors Heavenly Dipper and Earth Fiend were the first to fly out. The vines on the ground rustled as they flew up one after another, transforming into a sky full of shadows that permeated the void. Primogenitor Immortal Demon Vine, you gave birth to the immortal world and the devil world. You're one of the top plants in the primal chaos. Now show your true power. Grand Emperors Heavenly Dipper and Earth Fiend roared, their attacks transcending space-time. The primogenitor Immortal Demon Vine was their strongest treasure. Hegemon Demonheart didn't make a sound. He leaped into the air, using stellar transposition and void transformation to arrive where the shadow was, where he punched out. Whoosh 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 whoosh. The primogenitor Immortal Demon Vine lived up to its name. Although it wasn't the original primogenitor Immortal Demon Vine, it was still something that had been nurtured from its fragments. It transcended space-time and completely enveloped the shadow, making it impossible for it to hide. The primogenitor Immortal Demon Vine contained the true meaning of the universe, so how could it be ordinary under the control of a Grand Emperor? How? The shadow revealed its true form. It was a bald, pitch-black humanoid with no nose, eyes, or other facial features. In fact, it didn't even have a mouth. However, an evil will surged out like a tsunami. Kakik. You actually noticed me? Very well, very well. I just devoured the ghost god Grand Emperor, and haven't digested it yet. However, I'm still very hungry. In that case, I'll devour you one by one. You have incredible destiny on you. Rumble. A huge mouth actually appeared on the figure's bald head. It inhaled deeply and wind surged. It actually wanted to suck the primogenitor Immortal Devil Vine deep into its stomach. As for Patriarch Demonheart's fist strike, it was shattered by a burst of power. The punch was calm and peaceful, but it didn't match his evil energy. It wasn't a martial art of his own. What martial art is that? Shocked, Hegemon Demonheart felt his entire body go numb. No, it's a consummate art of the Middle Emperors, Heaven's striking Godfist. It stands in the middle, and its power surges out in all directions. The might of an emperor is unparalleled. Ha. The shadow spoke again. You people, how do you know my profundities? After devouring the reincarnations of the 5 emperors, I naturally learned all of their divine fists. 5 emperors combined. 5 heavenly Taos. Crash. He opened his mouth again and actually enveloped all of the primogenitor immortal devil vines. Then, he punched again. This time, he punched 5 times in a row. Each punch represented an emperor, and the emperor's shadow appeared in his punches. In the end, the divine fists of the 5 emperors gathered together, vast and matchless, and actually condensed into a long river. That river was like an eternal tide. It was a river filled with the aura of an emperor. The 5 sovereigns can successfully form a monarch Tao river. Let me tell you, an attack like that isn't something you can defend against. The monarch Tao river was a condensation of the energy of the Tao of monarchs in the depths of the void, and was somewhat similar to the Grand Spirit River. The Grand Spirit River was formed by the righteous astral chi of all living beings and scholars. Thinking about it, there were still righteous people in the myriad world. All righteous people had righteousness in their hearts, and they would have the Grand Spirit surging. It was the same with the monarch Tao river. In the depths of the void, it was a river of monarchs and hegemons. The wills of all the monarchs and hegemons in the world would rise up into the air and become a part of the monarch Tao river. In the 5,000 years of Earth's history, there had been many monarchs and emperors, each of whom wielded immense power and the energy of the Tao of monarchs. Furthermore, how many monarchs had there been throughout the myriad worlds? How ferocious would their king's way winding rivers be when summoned? Bang bang bang! As soon as the monarch Tao river appeared, it shattered the attacks of Grand Emperor Heaven Empyrean Earth Fiend and August Patriarch Heart Devil, and even crushed the primogenitor Immortal Demon Vine. Jiang Li didn't even flinch. Instead, he threw his arms out wide to receive the baptism of the monarch Tao river. This type of attack was exactly what he wanted, and would allow him to convert even more primal chaos palea energy, and at the same time, refine his fleshly body. "I'll defend against the attack of the monarch Tao river," he said in a righteous voice. "The rest of you, hurry up and surround this devil." Chapter 830. As the river of the Tao of monarchs entered Jiang Li's body, the ancient wells within him began to work with heaven-shaking, earth-toppling power. Primal chaos palea energy flowed through him, forming the red dust heaven world. His red dust heaven was the ultimate manifestation of the boundless great Tao. It imitated the celestial great overarching realm, but it was a level higher than the celestial great overarching realm, surpassing the Great Dream Crown Prince. Although Great Dream Crown Prince was also a peerless genius that was rarely seen in billions of years, he was still a little bit worse than Jiang Li. Jiang Li's cultivation was the accumulation of the wisdom of countless people, and he also had the support of the human world. Although the human world was not as good as the immortal world, the concept of the human world had never appeared before. This kind of great merit was not something ordinary people could compare with. This evil existence, the attack of the royal Tao winding river, was exactly what Jiang Li wanted. He blocked all of the attacks for the sake of August Patriarch Demon Heart and Grand Emperors Heaven Empyrean and Earth Fiend. However, August Patriarch Demon Heart and Grand Emperors Heaven Empyrean and Earth Fiend weren't moved at all. Exchanging a glance, they sent a stream of energy into Jiang Li. This was a secret magic they had created specifically to control their enemies. Heaven Empyrean and Earth Fiend Heart Devil God magic. As soon as Jiang Li sensed it, he understood its profundities. It was a heaven-shaking, earth-shattering skill that even ghosts and gods couldn't fathom. It seeped into a person's soul, and contained the flavor of the boundless Buddhist Dharma. According to the legends, when one mastered a Buddhist Dharma, one's energy field would spread out to purify all living beings, turning them into believers. Boundless divine abilities could be combined to create the most domineering of entities. This was a divine ability created by August Patriarch Demon Heart, which used magic to seduce the hearts of people. Combined with the help of Grand Emperors Heaven Empyrean and Earth Fiend, any Grand Emperor would be able to unwittingly fall under their control. However, Zhongli still had control over the divine ability. Instead of converting it into primal chaos palea energy, he had converted it into his own profundities, and was now able to control it. His boundless great Tao surpassed that of august patriarch Demon Heart. Come forth, arch-immortal Devil Vine. Grand Emperors Heaven Empyrean, Earth Fiend, and august patriarch Demon Heart waved their hands. Swish, swish, swish. The primogenitor immortal Devil Vine flew out and once again densely arranged themselves in the air. The immortal Devil Gourd appeared. This time, the immortal Devil Gourd floated in the air and released a suction force towards that terrifying existence. The immortal Demon Gourd, the power of two worlds, fuses with the Tao and absorbs all living things. The three experts roared at the same time, and a majestic power was emitted from the immortal Demon Gourd. The primogenitor immortal Devil Vine was originally devoured by that terrifying existence, but after being summoned, it flew out again. After all, it was an ancient era's strange object. How could it be devoured like this? That was the great existence that gave birth to the immortal realm and the demon realm. Furthermore, the heavenly dipper earthly fiend emperor and patriarch mental demon had intentionally allowed the immortal demon vine to be devoured so that they could absorb the power of this terrifying existence and understand its essence, as well as decipher its cultivation technique. Although the two gourds were not as good as the real immortal world and demon world, they were still embryonic forms. Thinking about it, if the embryonic forms of the immortal world and demon world were refined into artifacts, how powerful would that be? The power of the two immortal demons tugged at the terrifying body. The terrifying existence was immediately frozen in place. The power of the immortal demon gourd pulled at its body fiercely, trying to pull out the immortal demons on its body and absorb it into the gourd. Kill. It threw another punch. However, at this time, Zhongli blocked in front of it again. Your punch should be landing on my body. I want to see how powerful your fist technique is. It opened its mouth and swallowed the fist force into its abdomen. Damn it! The terrifying bald head of the terrifying existence burst out with its strongest power, shattering the ancient and destroying everything. In the blink of an eye, his fist technique surged and he struck out thousands of divine fists. Lowly existence, I came from the primal chaos to put an end to this filthy world. You are all trash produced by the primal chaos. Now I am sent by the primal chaos to burn you trash. King's Path, Long River, come out. Blazing flames actually burned on its body. It was the flames of chaos. In the depths of the flames, it broke through the void and attracted a long river. In the depths of this long river, the aura of a ruler was everywhere. The spirits of rulers, big and small, gathered to form the long river. What was a ruler? A ruler who held great power was a ruler. A ruler who ordered people around was a ruler. A ruler who followed the law with his words was a ruler. A ruler who spoke with the will of the heavens was a ruler. A ruler who was high and mighty was a ruler. A ruler who was decisive in killing was a ruler. A ruler who was precious in character was a ruler. Anyone who possessed such luck would have their spirits integrated into the King's Path Long River. Such a King's Path Long River possessed power that surpassed that of a great emperor. Even the owner of the Immortal Tower and the owner of the universe's brain were no match for it. However, this was not a living being, but the will of countless people. To a certain extent, the King's Path Long River was even more powerful than the noble spirit Long River. This was because throughout history, the righteous ones had always been led by the kings. The 5 emperors had once been blessed by Yuanshi and cultivated the strongest path of the king. When they joined forces, they could summon the King's Path Long River to destroy everything. Throughout history, the strongest river was the River of Destiny, followed by the River of Time, which was also the River of History. After that, there were all kinds of long rivers, such as the River of Massacre, the River of Noble Spirit, the River of the King's Path, the will of countless living beings in the myriad worlds condensed into all kinds of long rivers in the depths of the void. However, only those who had reached the highest realm of cultivation and had countless opportunities could summon them. Legend had it that no one had been able to summon the River of Massacre to this day. It was a long river formed by the gathering of all the killing intents in the myriad worlds. Whoever possessed it could slaughter everything. However, since ancient times, the one who had the highest chance of summoning the River of Massacre was the immortal Slayer Emperor. However, his killing intent was just a little short, and he didn't manage to pierce through a thin layer of paper. If he hadn't died, he would have definitely been able to summon the River of Massacre by now. At that time, he would have surpassed the existence of a great emperor, broken through the ages, and become invincible. Rumble! As soon as the River of Monarchs appeared, it slammed into Jiangli, causing Jiangli to tremble and scream, "Impossible! Impossible! How could the River of Monarchs be so strong? I can't negate its power at all." He was faking it. He knew that the higher-ups of the Immortal Tower were also watching. If he could completely take on the River of Monarchs, it would be too fake. Everyone would suspect that there was something wrong with him. Crunch, crunch. He was drawing on his limitless great Tao, and his body was crumbling. Here's our chance. Patriarch Demonheart, Grand Emperor Celestial Dipper, and Grand Emperor Earthfiend all noticed what was happening to Jiangli. In their eyes, the Wild's god couldn't withstand the power of the River of Monarchs, and was crumbling. They didn't show any mercy at all, and instead, seized the opportunity. Patriarch Demonheart laughed. "Ha ha ha ha. Wild's god, you're too tired. Let me help you transfer the Tao of the Heart Demon into your body, and you'll become my out-of-body incarnation. That way, my cultivation base will skyrocket, and we'll have a chance to suppress this ultimate devil." "That's right, Wild's god. Give us your power and the control of the prison. We'll suppress this wretch devil, and the material world will reward us with the greatest merit. When that time comes, your heroic spirit will be able to rest in peace." Grand Emperor Celestial Dipper and Grand Emperor Earthfiend also laughed. All three of them shot out beams of light that entered Jiang Li's body. "You guys. You don't have any morals." Jiang Li once again pretended to roar hysterically. However, he was secretly absorbing the impact of the Royal Road winding river, as well as the majestic divine power of the three great sovereigns. In this way, it was equivalent to 4 great sovereigns bestowing power to him, and it was an all-out bestowment. What the hell is morality? My name is Patriarch Demonheart. You want to talk about morality with me? You're just courting death. Patriarch Demonheart suddenly lunged toward Jiangli, wanting to fuse with him. Rumble! In that exact moment, Technique made his move. A shadowy figure appeared in the depths of the prison world of chaos, a young man who was none other than Technique's true self. He opened his hand wide, sending out a beam of light that blocked Patriarch Demonheart's attack. Everyone knew that anyone who was touched by Patriarch Demonheart would instantly lose their sense of self. The beam of light was none other than the deathless heaven art of the deathless Godfist, and it sent Patriarch Demonheart flying back. "Patriarch Demonheart, you've been imprisoned for so long. Don't tell me you're planning to rebel? Technique, you silk pants. If it weren't for your father, would you have cultivated to this level? Ah. I can leave the prison world of chaos at any time. I just want to cultivate here and gain control of the great necropolis." Apparently, Patriarch Demonheart had long since anticipated this. "Since that's the case, I want you to show yourself. Once you show up, we'll be able to carry out our plan." Ha ha ha! Grand Emperor Heavenly Dipper and Grand Emperor Earthly Fiend fused together, transforming into a single person. This person was so tall and imposing that he seemed to dwarf heaven and earth. Heavenly Dipper and Earthly Fiend combined into a single Grand Emperor, who was now the #1 Grand Emperor, surpassing even the Queen Mother. His laughter caused the entire prison to tremble. Technique. Since you've entered the depths of the prison world of chaos, don't blame us. We've been plotting for a long time, waiting for the big fish to take the bait. The destiny of your deathless tower is incredibly strong, but you suppressed Ba Liming. He's an invincible warrior, and you want to refine him. That's why you've split up your power. Now that you've ridden the tiger, it's hard to get off. Right now, you can only use your own power. You're still too inexperienced. Primogenitor Immortal Devil Vine, show me your true power. Rumble. On the ground and in the sky, densely packed Ancestor Immortal Demon Vines appeared. The entire Ancestor Immortal Demon Vines seemed to be wriggling and growing, as if they were about to cover the entire prison. Countless streams of baleful energy were being absorbed by the vines. In addition to that, some of the weaklings, true gods, ancestral gods, and celestials in the depths of the prison were being absorbed by the vines. Then, the gourd of the devil world began to expand. Chapter 831. This was the true power of the primogenitor devil vines. How could the vines that had given birth to immortal and devil worlds be so useless? As it turned out, the vines had taken root in the great necropolis prison, and were absorbing its essence. If they succeeded, the great necropolis would become nourishment for the immortal and devil worlds. The power of the vines could permeate anything and everything. The great necropolis was filled with boundless baleful energy, similar to that of the devil worlds. Furthermore, the substructure of the great necropolis was unique. It was the most powerful thing that had ever existed in the depths of primal chaos. Not even the owner of the Deathless Tower had assimilated it. He had imprisoned the devil gods and used their murderous energy to dissolve the great necropolis. The essence of the great necropolis is the purest of materials, something that surpasses even the essence of immortal worlds. It's a place of eternal peace and tranquility. The master of the Deathless Tower wanted to imprison devil gods and corrupt this place. Who could have guessed that you wouldn't even notice the immortal devil vines and devil world gourds we planted in this place? Well, it's time for you to die. We'll absorb the baleful energy that has been building up since ancient times. Then we'll start absorbing the energy of this place of rest and turn it into a minor devil world and an immortal world. The Deathless Tower's planetary system will be destroyed, and we'll absorb it all to become the overlords of heaven and earth. The substructure of the great necropolis was pure. It was a place of rest, even purer than an immortal world. The essence of an immortal world was light and transcendent, elegant and graceful. The great necropolis was peaceful, and eternally dormant. The baleful energy was created by the Deathless Tower's planetary system in an attempt to assimilate this place of rest and take it for themselves. However, Grand Emperors Heaven Empyrean and Heaven Fiend were using the primogenitor devil vines, the devil world bottle gourd to absorb the baleful energy, and the immortal world bottle gourd to absorb the essence. With the two combined, the great necropolis was in their hand. After plotting for so many years, they finally succeeded today. In the blink of an eye, the prisoners in the depths of the great necropolis, as well as the weaker god spirits, were facing a calamity. None of the god spirits could escape. Zhongli could even see the once invincible celestial Daxiong being caught up in the vines, howling in rage as he tried to break free from them. But to no avail. The vine wrapped around celestial heavenly Daxiong for a moment, then stabbed into him. His body, godhood, and soul began to wither and distort with rage. The only thing left behind was a voice filled with resentment. I curse you. I curse the people who killed me to never be able to reincarnate. I curse you. However, this resentment was soon absorbed. How could the ancestor immortal demon Vine be afraid of a heavenly venerable? Jiangli was a little moved when he saw this scene. After all, Heavenly Lord Maxiong had met him once before. Although it wasn't a good encounter, he was still a living Heavenly Lord. Yet, he had been absorbed just like that, without even leaving behind any resentment. The Heavenly Dipper Grand Tharch, Earthly Fiend Grand Tharch, and Patriarch Mental Demon finally revealed their terrifying side. They had long planned this out and had even trapped techniques within. Not good. Shu's face suddenly changed. He knew that he was safe. The great necropolis prison was locked down by the power of immortals and devils, making it impossible for him to escape. Not even the power of the system could enter, and no one on the outside knew what was going on. Ha! Ha 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 ha! The Heavenly Dipper Earthly Fiend Grand Tharch reached out to grab Shu, Jiang Li's Wild's God, and the balding Primal Chaos Wretch Devil. His power had increased, and he had absolute control. Even the balding Primal Chaos Wretch Devil was afraid of him, and didn't use the Godfist of the Tao of Monarchs or the winding river of the Tao of Monarchs. "You're too naive, Shu," Patriarch Mental Demon said as he lunged toward Shu. Shu was the son of the master of the Deathless Tower, and although he had become a Grand Emperor thanks to his father, he was still a silkpants. How could he possibly compare to Patriarch Mental Demon and Heavenly Dipper Earthly Fiend Grand Tharch? Patriarch Mental Demon had betrayed the immortal world, then invaded the devil world to seize power. He had stolen the essence of the devil world, as well as a portion of the immortal world itself. How could he possibly be a prisoner? Now, they were taking advantage of the weakness of the Deathless Tower's planetary system to launch an attack. If it weren't for the fact that Ba Liming, the ancestor of the martial Tao, had been imprisoned, they wouldn't have been able to cause trouble in the great necropolis. But now, they were taking advantage of the situation to cause havoc. The balding Primal Chaos Wretch Devil chuckled coldly. "Excellent. Excellent. Foolish living beings. You really are trash born from Primal Chaos. You're on the verge of destruction, and yet you're still plotting against each other? That said, if you work together, you might be able to slow down the destruction and even avoid calamity after calamity. But if you attack each other, you'll die. Don't get cocky, Wretch Devil," Patriarch Mental Demon said, his vines wrapping around the Wretch Devil. "Nothing can destroy me. I'm the emissary of world destruction. Even if I die, my essence will return to Primal Chaos. As time passes, more and more emissaries of world destruction like me will appear. Just wait to be devoured, and return to Primal Chaos." "Emissary of world destruction," Patriarch Mental Demon said. "You're also a living being. In some ways, you're also trash born from Primal Chaos. You have your own emotions, your own happiness, anger, sorrow, and joy. That's your true self. Don't tell me you're just going to follow the orders of Primal Chaos? Don't you want to be independent? We're all children of Primal Chaos, but we don't want to die. That's the natural law of life. Once life is created, it should be independent. You're the same, emissary of world destruction. Enjoy the beauty of life." Enjoy the beauty of life? The emissary of world destruction was visibly taken aback by Patriarch Mental Demon's words, and couldn't use any of his techniques. In the blink of an eye, the progenitor's immortal devil vines wrapped around him. However, he quickly realized what was happening. "How dare you try to trick me, Patriarch Mental Demon? You're courting death. I'm going to kill you. Rumble." The Primal Chaos flames on his body burned even brighter, but they couldn't burn the progenitor's immortal devil vines, and were only able to force them out of his body. "Wild's God, it's time for you to show your loyalty. Sacrifice yourself. Given your level of cultivation, you'll definitely be able to open a path for me to escape. Hurry up and sacrifice yourself to help me escape," the emissary of world destruction screamed. His entire body was already entangled by the immortal devil vines, and it was obvious that he was losing a lot of his essence, and was about to be sucked into his body. At this time, the origami that Jiangli had transformed into was his only hope. He immediately gave the order. However, the origami could no longer hear him. His entire body was densely covered with vines, and the vines were also sucking away his origin. Of course, this was all part of Jiang Li's plan. Ha 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 ha! Grand Emperor Celestial Dipper and Grand Emperor Earth Fiend burst out laughing. Patriarch Mental Demon, we've won a great victory this time. As long as we refine these people and the great necropolis, we'll be able to surpass the Grand Emperor level when we leave this place. Of course. This is our best chance. No one will ever be able to match us again. Patriarch Mental Demon stared at the emissary of destruction. Especially the emissary of destruction. Once we kill him, we'll be able to do whatever we want. Do you think more emissaries of destruction will appear in the future? It's possible. If the primordial chaos wants to destroy the world, it won't do it personally. It'll send down its emissaries to destroy and devour destiny one by one. Because of its sudden destruction, the backlash from the entire world will be even greater. The material world, the void world, all sorts of situations, fate and time are all incredibly powerful existences. If they all backfire, even the primordial chaos will be hurt. Perhaps we can use this opportunity to truly transcend and become a Paramitha. We can pass the primordial chaos tribulation and be reborn. Enough talk. Let's completely refine these people and the great necropolis. Grand Emperor Heaven Dipper and Grand Emperor Earth Fiend sent their vines stabbing into the emissary of destruction. The emissary of destruction opened his eyes, revealing a mouth and eyes on his bald head. However, he had no nose or ears. I can't believe you people are trying to kill the emissary of destruction. As soon as he opened his eyes, he seemed like a completely different person. Ancient primordial chaos, bestow upon me power. Rumble. Primal chaos Palea energy appeared above his head. It was primal chaos Palea energy. Unexpectedly, it was giving birth to a martial discipline. Next, he unleashed a godfist that was even more ferocious than the 5 emperors summon monarch winding river. It was none other than the primordial chaos godfist. Not just anyone could learn the primal chaos godfist. The emissary of destruction was possessed by primal chaos, which was why he was able to unleash it. The emissary of destruction unleashed the primal chaos godfist, causing scenes of destruction to appear everywhere. Anything that touched the primal chaos godfist would be transformed into primal chaos impure energy. It wasn't primal chaos palea energy, but rather primal chaos impure energy. It was like clear water contaminated with mud, which had to settle down before it could return to its original state. The primal chaos mud was actually primal chaos impure energy. Primal chaos impure energy could be refined into primal chaos palea energy. Although primal chaos impure energy was contaminated with the dust of the Hotion world, it was still extremely useful, and could be used to nourish precious materials. This is a true martial discipline, the primal chaos godfist. Jiang Li said excitedly. This emissary of destruction is incredible. I have to capture him. Once I capture him, I'll be able to learn the profundities of the primal chaos godfist. In fact, the emissary of destruction can even summon primal chaos palea energy to study, and I'll be able to push the well of myriad beings to the great circle. Chapter 832. Primal Chaos Godfist. It was a legendary martial discipline, the most powerful in all heaven and earth, past and future. However, it wasn't a martial discipline, but rather a manifestation of the will of primal chaos. No one had ever been able to cultivate it, and the emissary of destruction hadn't cultivated it on his own. He had simply been blessed by primal chaos. The primal chaos godfist was very similar to the fate godfist. Apparently, only Wan Qianqiu had been able to cultivate the great Tao of fate. Even if others learned the cultivation method, they wouldn't be able to do so. There were countless moves in the chaos divine fist. Even if the envoy of annihilation could communicate with it and receive its blessing, he would only be able to learn a portion of the move. It was impossible to master all of them. No one in this world could master all of the chaos divine fist. Only chaos itself could perform it. According to the legends, one punch of the primal chaos godfist could split heaven and earth, and the other could destroy heaven and earth. Everything could be destroyed into primal chaos, and primal chaos could be transformed into all things. It was a cycle of destruction and reincarnation, a cycle of destruction. The primal chaos godfist smashed the progenitor immortal devil vine into primal chaos palea energy. The emissary of destruction cut a bloody path through the vines, reaching Grand Emperor Heavenly Dipper, Grand Emperor Earth Fiend, and August Patriarch Heart Devil. Then he unleashed another fist strike, hoping to turn all three of them into primal chaos and devour them. Do you really think the primal chaos godfist is invincible, emissary of destruction? Grand Emperor Heavenly Dipper, Grand Emperor Earth Fiend, and August Patriarch Heart Devil seemed to have anticipated this outcome. Joining forces, they unleashed the secret of the immortal devil vines. Absorb. Essence and primal chaos palea energy. Absorb. The immortal devil gourd on the progenitor immortal devil vine unleashed a powerful gravitational force that began to absorb the power of the fist strike, as well as the primal chaos palea energy of the emissary of destruction. Both the immortal world bottle gourds and the devil world bottle gourds were incredibly powerful and were capable of reversing the Tao of heaven. In the face of the apocalypse, they had struggled to survive. In fact, it was possible to see the shadows of the immortal world and the devil world within them. Immortal devil gourd. I can't believe you've cultivated it to the point where it can connect to the essence of the immortal world and the devil world. The emissary of annihilation soared into the sky, suppressing the chaos divine fist. However, you will definitely suffer the backlash from the heavenly will of the demon realm and the immortal realm, because your immortal demon gourd is a serious threat to their source. You don't have to worry about that. Patriarch Mental Demon and Heavenly Dipper and Earthly Fiend said, Envoy of Annihilation, if you were truly invincible, why would the primal chaos need an apocalypse? You, the emissary of annihilation, is enough. The Armageddon emissaries are also constantly growing. Every Armageddon emissary has to devour those with great luck in order to absorb more power from the chaos to destroy the world. The envoy of annihilation roared, I have devoured the fate of the 5 sovereigns and all the great emperors, and you still want to fight me? What wishful thinking! He activated the Chaos Divine Fist once again. As it swept across, the ancestor immortal demon vine once again had many holes blasted open. However, the more holes that were blasted open, the faster the primogenitor immortal demon vine grew, instead densely wrapping around him. The entire world transformed into a world of vines. Let's absorb incantation and the origami first. Grand Emperor Heavenly Dipper, Grand Emperor Earth Fiend, and August Patriarch Demon Heart said. Once we absorb the technique and the Wild's God, we can take full control of the great necropolis. In fact, we might even be able to take control of the planetary systems of the Deathless Tower. Let's absorb the technique and the planetary systems of the Deathless Tower first. Alright. Right now, we can only block the Armageddon emissary for a bit. His Chaos Divine Fist is really sharp, but once we absorb the technique and control the planetary systems of the Deathless Tower, we won't have any problems. The reason the Armageddon emissary is so strong is because he absorbed the destiny of the 5 sovereigns, as well as Grand Emperor Ghost God and some other Grand Emperors. That's how he can summon power from primal chaos. Of course, If the Armageddon emissaries were that strong, then primal chaos would have destroyed the world long ago. My guess is that the Armageddon emissary's cultivation base is limited, and he needs to constantly absorb destiny to become stronger. It doesn't matter how strong he is, he's going to die today. Devour the technique and the wild's god. Absorb. Rumble. The three of them transformed into vital energy that flowed into the immortal world and devil world gourd. At the same time, the baleful energy in the great necropolis was converging, and the essence of the great necropolis was being extracted. In the depths of the great necropolis, some of the prisoners, other than the Grand Emperors, were being sucked into the primogenitor immortal devil vines, becoming a part of the immortal world gourd and devil world gourd. Wild's god, hurry up and sacrifice yourself, Shu said anxiously. His energy was depleting rapidly. If this continued, he would be in deep trouble. His life had been smooth ever since he was born, and he had never experienced any great storms. He had always been protected by his father, who had surpassed the great monarch realm, thus he had never been in a life-threatening situation. But now, he had failed. If he fell into the trap of August Patriarch Heart Devil and the other monsters, he would die. The Wild's god was his only hope. Unfortunately, the Wild's god was unconscious. Since you refuse to sacrifice yourself, Wild's god, Shu said angrily, I won't stand on ceremony. I'll use the contract to force you to sacrifice yourself. In the blink of an eye, he drew on the power of the system to detonate the warding magics inside of the Wild's god. Bam! The little pagoda inside of the Wild's god exploded. Once a god signed a contract with the Deathless Tower, he or she would be at the mercy of the pagoda. Rumble! The Wild's god tried his best to hold on, but to no avail. Humph! Shu! You silk pants! Even at this point, you're still thinking of others to protect you? How inhumane! August Patriarch Heart Devil said. Wild's god, I planted the power of heart devils inside of you, as well as the power of heavenly Empyrean and earthly Baleful. It's time to refine them. In the blink of an eye, the plant inside of the Wild's god dissolved into vital energy that vanished into heaven and earth, absorbed by the devilish vines. The Wild's god was gone, just like that. Ag! Shu said in despair. I refuse to accept this. Father, I'll break through my limits and break through everything. I want to live forever. Not even the destruction of heaven and earth can destroy my divine abilities. He drew on all of his power. However, his father didn't seem to respond at all. Stop struggling, Shu. Your father, the owner of the Deathless Tower, used his soul and psyche to suppress Baaliming. Beneath the great necropolis is the Deathless Monument. If we destabilize the necropolis, your father will face the most dangerous tribulation he's ever faced. When that happens, your father will die, and the Deathless Tower's planetary system will be reduced to nothingness. Instantly, the great necropolis began to tremble and shrink as its essence entered the devilish vines. Then, in the deepest dimension of the great necropolis, 5 monuments appeared, all of the destiny converging on them. In the depths of the monuments was an enormous space-time, a brand new universe, filled with thunderous rumbling. Earth, water, fire, and wind were all roaring at the same time, filled with heaven-toppling, earth-toppling power. In the depths of the earth, water, fire, and wind, power surpassed that of a grand emperor. It was a brand new universe. A brand new universe. Ha ha ha. This is a brand new universe. Once I assimilate the great necropolis, I'll attack it. That way, Baaliming and the Deathless Tower's planetary system will both be destroyed. That way, we'll have a much stronger foundation. Laughing maniacally, August Patriarch Heart Devil continued his assimilation of the emissary of destruction. Now that they had assimilated the Wild's god, they could control part of the great necropolis. As of this moment, the emissary of destruction was in their bag. Shu's body was melting continuously and a portion of his soul had been snatched away. His entire body was on the verge of collapsing. However, there was still an aura holding him up, causing his cultivation base to surge furiously. Be destroyed. The immortal devil gourd was growing stronger and stronger. It was going to destroy his soul one last time. However, in that very moment, a beam of godlight shot out from the depths of the universe and into the depths of the great necropolis, causing the entire necropolis to shine with dazzling light. The vines crackled and crackled as they burned, and even the emissary of annihilation was hit, causing him to turn as red as a shrimp. The beam of godlight was going to destroy everything, and therefore, the emissary of destruction. It's the master of the immortal tower. Who would have thought that after creating a brand new universe and gathering all the destiny of the immortal towers Starfield to suppress Baliming, the ancestor of martial Dao, he's still able to divert some of his attention to kill us. Let's go all out. Patriarch Mental Demon's demonic aura was dense as he summoned the power of heavenly demons. With him at the center, a kingdom appeared, filled with heaven devils, fiend devils born from the heavens. Unrestrained heaven devil. Unrestrained heaven. Just like Crown Prince Great Dream, he had created his own heaven world. Crown Prince Demengs was the great overarching heaven realm, Jiang Li's was the red dust realm, and he was the Mahasvara realm. The Supreme Demon Path could also call it Mahasvara Transformation, which meant that he could transform anything he wanted into anything he wanted. When the Great Dream Heart Sutra was cultivated to the extreme, it would evolve into the heavenly realm. The heavenly realm was the eternal dream of everyone. Even the Heart Monarch wanted to evolve into the heavenly realm when he was in charge of the immortal world. Heavenly Dipper Earthly Fiend, all universes. Heavenly Dipper Earthly Fiend released his own aura, which transformed into a universe that merged with Patriarch Demonheart's unrestrained heaven. With the help of the Heavenly Dipper and Earthly Fiend, the unrestrained heaven was like a ship with its keel, or a palace with its beams and pillars. The Heavenly Dipper and Earthly Fiend were 108 pillars. They could move universes into the material world. Be it the Megaplexus Heaven, Red Dust Heaven, or Unrestrained Heaven, they were all illusory, idealistic kingdoms. Turning them into reality and moving them into the material world was incredibly difficult. But with the help of the ancient well, Jiang Li had surpassed the Megaplexus Heaven. But now, with the help of the Heavenly Dipper and Earthly Fiend, the unrestrained heaven surpassed it. Master of the Deathless Tower, I'll fight you to the death. The unrestrained heaven slammed into the new universe. Chapter 833. The true clash was about to begin. The Lord of the Imperishable Tower was taking the time to save his son, and at the same time, to save himself. If August Patriarch Demonheart succeeded, then he wouldn't be able to suppress Baliming, and would die. That light surpassed the power of the Grand Emperors. It flew out to destroy the primogenitor Immortal Devil Vines and destroy August Patriarch Demonheart and Grand Emperors Heaven Dipper and Earth Fiend. But when the three Grand Emperors joined forces, they were like old-timers from millions upon millions of years ago, with profound calculations and profound cultivation bases. At his peak, the Lord of the Imperishable Tower might have been able to crush them. But now, things were different. The light burned the primogenitor Immortal Devil Vines, and although it could slow down the process, the unrestrained heaven world turned the tables on them. The world continued to expand, and eventually, the primogenitor Immortal Devil Vines were fusing with the power of the immortal and devil worlds. The unrestrained heaven world was originally an illusory universe, but with the foundation of Heaven Dipper and Earth Fiend, it became a part of the physical world. Now that it was fusing with the primogenitor Immortal Devil Vines, it was truly transforming illusory universes into actual universes. The primogenitor Immortal Demon Vine was an existence that had condensed the immortal realm and the demon realm. It itself had an extremely strong ability to create universes. The fusion of the primogenitor immortal demon vine was simply complementing each other. As long as it absorbed enough power, the primogenitor immortal demon vine would be able to truly become a great heaven. When that happened, the unrestrained heaven world would instantly become the #1 universe, and could even devour the immortal and devil worlds. Although it seemed like a fantasy, if August Patriarch Demonheart and the other two devoured the great necropolis, the emissary of extermination, and the planetary system of the imperishable tower, they might actually reach that level. Kill! In that brand new world, another ray of divine light shot out and charged into the depths of the Mahasvara realm, causing a series of explosions in the depths of that realm. Unrestrained heaven world, evolve unrestrained. One thought and wishes come true. An opening appeared in the unrestrained heaven, and the power of the immortal and devil worlds poured into it, causing the primogenitor immortal devil vines to erupt with power. More vines appeared, all of them in the depths of the unrestrained heaven world. The unrestrained heaven world had already become a great universe, and it slammed into the beam of light. Crackle! The great necropolis, the unrestrained heaven, Grand Emperor Heavendipper, Grand Emperor Earthfiend, and August Patriarch Heart Devil all experienced breakthroughs, their auras surging with incredible power. Where is the power coming from? Patriarch Demonheart and Patriarch Heavenly Dipper and Earthly Fiend could only feel their power rising nonstop. It's from the ancestor immortal demon vine. Patriarch Mental Demon could sense it. The primogenitor immortal demon vine is undergoing a transformation. There seems to be a burst of energy within, giving us the greatest strength. How could this be happening? Don't tell me it's actually devouring the great necropolis? Rumble! It was at this moment that another beam of divine light appeared, rushing out from the new cosmos. This beam of light was not pure light, but rather, it condensed into a jade disk with two sides, one black and one white. It seemed to be the Taiji diagram. No. To be precise, it was the Taiji diagram. It was none other than the Good Fortune jade disk. Originally, the Deathless Tower had only had the yang side of the Good Fortune jade disk, which was the white side. Therefore, it wasn't very powerful. But now, it could summon a projection of the Good Fortune jade disk. Clearly, the Good Fortune jade disk was beginning its first phase of integration. Combined, it was more than enough to crush any and all wretched devils. As soon as the projection of the Good Fortune jade disk appeared, Grand Emperor Heavendipper, Earthfiend, Grand Emperor Heart Devil, and even the emissary of destruction felt immense pressure weighing down on them. In fact, Shu was brimming with power. He shot up into the sky, and within the illusory image of the Good Fortune jade disk, he said, "You rebels, all of you die. The Good Fortune jade disk is your final trump card. Are you finally going to use it?" Grand Emperor Heart Devil's eyes shone with unfathomable light. "Unfortunately, I still have a final trump card. Unrestrained Heaven World, Destruction." The unrestrained heaven world burst into flames, transforming into an eternal flame that resembled the spark of the undying god lamp. Then, it slammed into the Good Fortune jade disk. Once again, the Good Fortune jade disk transformed into a gigantic hand that slammed down, grabbing onto the spark. The moment the spark came into contact, an even greater explosion occurred. Pooh! The Heart Demon Emperor, Grand Emperor Heavendipper, Earthfiend, and the others spat out fresh blood. Within the new cosmos, many cracks appeared, as though both sides were injured. Ha ha ha! Just then, the emissary of destruction dashed out once more with his Chaos God Fist, wanting to destroy everything. Kill! Patriarch Heart Demon and the others, as well as the master of the immortal tower in the new cosmos, were enraged. A new projection of the Good Fortune jade disk appeared and slammed down. As for Patriarch Heart Demon, he transformed back into the unrestrained heaven world and exploded once more. Fresh blood dyed the entire unrestrained heaven world red. Dyed by the blood, the realm of freedom appeared even more real, holy, and dignified. August Patriarch Demonheart and Grand Emperor's Heaven Empyrean Earthfiend stood in the depths of spacetime, their auras completely gone. They exchanged a glance, and could see the fury in each other's eyes. What you need to do is to chant the Infinity Mantra, so that the human world will have infinite possibilities and the immortal demon gourd and the human world will be one. I have taught you all the details. What you need to do now is to set up the Infinity Formation and chant the Infinity Mantra. Chant it with your heart and body, so that the light of the Infinity Mantra can be maximized and the potential of the human world can be unleashed at the same time. After speaking, Jiangli suddenly jumped. His entire body entered the immortal demon gourd. The upper echelons of the human world started chanting the Infinity Mantra with one heart. This time, Jiangli was going to kill the envoy of annihilation inside the immortal demon gourd, devour everything he had, and obtain the primal chaos divine fist. At the same time, he would break through everything and surpass the great Tao of destiny. If he could obtain the true essence of the primal chaos divine fist, Jiangli might really surpass the great Tao of destiny and become an existence surpassing the great emperor realm. That was because the envoy of annihilation had devoured the reincarnations of the 5 emperors and obtained supreme luck. Now that he was captured by Jiangli, the luck of the 5 emperors would naturally be extracted and added to Jiangli's body. Moreover, Jiangli also knew that the envoy of annihilation had obtained the Middle Emperor brush, the Western Emperor drum, and other treasures, and had integrated them into his body. In the Chaos Prison Tomb, the Middle Emperor brush and the Western Emperor drum were already there. According to the rumors, once the treasures of the 5 emperors were gathered, it would be possible to open Yuanshir's treasury. Jiangli had obtained the Eastern Emperor Bell and merged with the Great Emperor, who was actually a clone of him. In other words, the Eastern Emperor Bell itself belonged to him. If he could refine the envoy of annihilation in front of him, he would have a chance to open the treasury of the primordial heavenly king and make all the treasures belong to the human world. In that case, the human world would immediately advance, and his cultivation would finally reach the same level as the primordial heavenly king. Kill, 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 kill. Violent killing intent erupted from the depths of the immortal demon gourd, and as soon as Jiangli entered it, he felt as if his soul and flesh were being transformed into primal chaos paleo-energy. Bam! He took the full brunt of the punch, which penetrated deep into his primal chaos ancient well and strengthened his cultivation base. Not bad. Not bad at all, envoy of annihilation. Jiangli looked at the enraged envoy of annihilation with an amused smile. You're profaning primal chaos, the envoy of annihilation said. This is the everlasting ancient well created by the undying magic lamp planetary system. They wanted to use primal chaos as a tool and profane it, and were destroyed by the will of heaven. I can't believe you're following in their footsteps. No, I'm not extracting primal chaos paleo-energy. I'm crushing it and turning it back into primal chaos paleo-energy. Jiangli chuckled. I'm obeying the will of primal chaos, while you're extracting primal chaos energy and using it as a godfist to attack the outside world. That's true profanity. I'll tell you the truth. I'm a child of primal chaos, and I was created specifically for it. Therefore, you have to acknowledge allegiance to me. Jiangli was blowing smoke and mirrors. Children of primal chaos were born with the ultimate meaning of the cycle of reincarnation and destruction. They were born with the desire to destroy, and had divine abilities that made them invincible under heaven. Considering all of that, the child of primal chaos was most likely not Yang Qi himself. Furthermore, he had the feeling that the child of primal chaos hadn't even been born yet. However, the reason he was claiming to be the child of primal chaos was to confuse the envoy of annihilation and force him into submission. Furthermore, he was using the art of enchantment of the unbounded Great Tao. The unbounded Great Tao was a consummate art of the Soul Emperor, and was even more powerful. Jiang Li's cultivation base, enlightenment, spirit, and accomplishments all surpassed that of the Soul Emperor. His art of enchantment could turn reality into illusion. Turning something fake into something real and deceiving an enemy wasn't a big deal. The worst part was turning something real into something fake. Or, in other words, turning something real into something fake. That was the true reversal of illusion and reality. That was exactly what Jiang Li was doing. The envoy of annihilation stared in shock for a moment, then roared, "No! No! No! How can you be the child of primal chaos? The child of primal chaos hasn't been born yet, because we've received news from primal chaos. We, the envoys of annihilation, will come out first to wipe out all those who pose a threat to the child of primal chaos, or to lower their threat level and wait for the child of primal chaos to come. You're not the child of primal chaos. If you were, I would have to submit to you with a single thought. You're trying to refine me and mess with my mind. I can see that clearly." Indeed, Jiang Li wanted to refine the person before him. The envoy of annihilation was extremely powerful. Even surrounded, it would be difficult to refine him. To prevent further complications, Jiang Li used primal chaos to control primal chaos, turning himself into the child of primal chaos, and then subduing the envoy of annihilation. The unbounded Great Tao could become anything. Even the child of primal chaos could be substituted. With a single thought, he could become the child of primal chaos, the child of heaven's will, the child of destiny like Wan Qianqiu, the child of limitlessness, or even the will of the immortal world. This was the true meaning of the unbounded Great Tao. Of course, he hadn't reached that point yet. All Jiang Li could do was surround the envoy of annihilation, first confuse him, and then scheme to strip the envoy of various energies from his body, then refine him after he was weakened. I really am the child of primal chaos. I can crush all things into primal chaos, and you have to serve me. You still don't understand the true meaning of primal chaos. The child of primal chaos isn't that simple. Think about it. I created a world as large as this one, and I created a great Tao that surpasses destiny. Destiny is the number one existence in the material world, and nothing can surpass it. Only primal chaos can stand above the material world. Think about it. If I'm not the child of primal chaos, then what am I? Jiang Li didn't attack. Instead, he continued to tempt the envoy of annihilation with words. My unbounded Great Tao can evolve anything. If it's not primal chaos, then what is it? Come, fuse into my body, and I'll be the child of primal chaos. Just one more chance to regain my status. Impossible. You're not the child of primal chaos. The envoy of annihilation threw another punch at Jiang Li's body. However, Jiang Li didn't move at all. He absorbed the punch's force just like before. Look, I'm the child of primal chaos. You can't kill me. Your attacks are useless against me. Jiang Li didn't retaliate. Actually, you said that once the child of primal chaos is born, he's invincible. That's true. Unfortunately, don't forget that there are countless powerhouses in the material world. Don't they know about the birth of the child of primal chaos? You've devoured the reincarnations of the 5 sovereigns, so you should know about Yuanshi. Don't you think he's powerful? He sealed my birth and trapped me in the womb. Otherwise, I'd be invincible. However, I've come to understand now. I'm the child of primal chaos, and you were sent by primal chaos to pave the way for me. The fate of the 5 sovereigns that you devoured should be transferred to me. Do you understand? This is what you should do. Primal chaos created you to pave the way for me. Jiang Li lied one after another. However, his lies were so intricate that even he almost believed them. Such lies naturally caused the envoy of annihilation to become suspicious again. The immortal demon gourd was originally Jiang Li's kingdom. In addition to the mortal world outside, countless experts were chanting the unbounded divine mantra. Together, this kingdom was filled with a boundless mortal world. The mortal world was the heavenly realm, and the heavenly realm was the mortal world. So the heavenly realm was in the mortal world. It was a complete mess. The envoy of annihilation couldn't help but be suspicious. The shadow of primal chaos transformed into a fist that punched out viciously. This was the first move of the Chaos Divine Fist. Even if Jiang Li obtained the primal Chaos Divine Fist, he wouldn't be able to use it. However, he could learn the essence of the primal Chaos Divine Fist, turn it into knowledge, and fuse it together to add a foundation for the infinite Tao. As for the other vital energy, a godly pill appeared in the air. It was the Wish God pill, and it absorbed the chi of the 5 emperors, as well as the fate of the various grand emperors. Jiang Li didn't need to absorb it himself. He just needed the primal chaos divine fist. However, when the Wish God pill absorbed all the vital energy, Jiang Li's body shook. He seemed to see numerous rivers in the air, and then the 10,000 worlds appeared. The reward of the physical world had appeared. The envoy of destruction was born from the primal chaos. If he was killed by Jiang Li, the physical world would definitely give him a huge reward. The physical world was the general name for the 10,000 worlds, rivers, and space-time. It belonged to an alliance. Anyone who killed the envoy of destruction would be rewarded by the alliance. The physical world's reward even exceeded that of the three-dimensional universe. However, the three-dimensional universe was a part of the physical world, and the rewards would also contain the power of the three-dimensional universe. So streaks of light shone down. That was the light of truth. It made everything more real. There wasn't a single bit of falsehood, and it was an absolute existence. The light of truth even surpassed the Zenith Heaven Talisman. This was because the Zenith Heaven Talisman was an illusory will, and it would only increase one's energy and mental strength, making the fire of wisdom even stronger. However, the light of truth directly molded and condensed everything. The process of condensing was to turn matter into the most real existence. It was something eternal. In this world, everything that could disappear was an illusion. Everything was like a dream, an illusion, or an illusion. In other words, there was nothing real in this world. The light of truth was to make the illusion disappear, and to wake up from the dream. Jiang Li's current soul, body, and the human world were all illusions. In the eyes of the Supreme Existence, they didn't exist. They were just a miniature version. Suddenly, when the light of truth shone down, he seemed to have grasped some of the true meaning of cultivation. So that's how it is. The strength of cultivation, the height of one's realm, all depends on who is the closest to reality. Anything that is real will definitely exist, and anything that is illusory will definitely be destroyed. Jiang Li said, "What meditation, embryonic breathing, meditative state, divine vision, great Tao, Godhead, and Emperor? They are all about turning oneself into reality step by step."